Good morning, traders. How we doing out there? Who's ready to get things started? It's another day right here on, of course, Trade the Pool. We're going to get things started. We're going to get towards the playbook. We'll get to the sunrise report. We got a lot to take a look at in the market. Looks like momentum has broken. That is the question that we'll be asking ourselves today. Can momentum come back? Well, find out, of course. And what does the Fed have to do with this? Find out why it's important to pay attention to the Fed minutes today. They come out at 2 p.m. Eastern, but we'll talk all about them right here on this show. Of course, we'll take a look at what stocks are moving and why in the sunrise report. We got a lot to look at. I got a trade on and the hangover short by my man Kevin. So shout out to the green team out there and hope they're doing well. Hope you're doing well, Kevin, this morning. Still have a little GDRX. We'll talk a little bit about that coming up. Let's get the show started. Let's kick things off. We'll get to the playbook. We'll get to other action. It's right here on Trade the Pool.
Google wants 200, baby.
You ready to get back to the trading action?
You aim, you shoot, and make money. It's going to be a great day. You guys know where you're at.
On traders, how we doing out there? Who's ready to get things started? We'll take a look into the market, see what's going on first. Let's go to the SPY here and just take a look at what's happened since yesterday, right? I mean, it definitely was a takedown day, and we're back down 638. So let's get back to the action. Let's take a look here at how things are looking, and we'll watch to see how these stocks are able to hold on or not hold on here. The SPY, of course, pulling back fast yesterday, and it was pretty much an all-day takedown, right? It wasn't just 1 second here. Give me 1 second here. Let me get my cat out of here. Sorry about that. He wants to be part of the show, and he is not on the list of the guests today. So we'll see what happens here in the SPY. Can it bounce, or will we get a bounce in the market today? Of course, the Q's coming down fast too. We'll talk all about the momentum stocks as they came crashing down. And who was talking about Palantir short? Yes, you know your boy Money Mitch all over. One of the best trades in Wall Street. That's what I like to do, guys. I can't always nail them all, and I did take the profits on Palantir just too early. But this was a swing trade that maybe I should have just been able to hold on for a little bit of a bigger trade. I made like 400 on this trade, so I can't really be mad about it. Of course, the max I can make on that swing account is 600 per trade there. But Palantir coming crashing down, guys, yesterday. Big down action, breaking through the 90 EMA and going what? Right to the 50. So today could be that day that you could get a little bit of a bounce, but it is definitely a disaster. And I talked about it. Would we come to the bottom end of the Bollinger Band and get back towards the kind of the 120s, 140s? I think we're heading back there. So now it's a kind of how fast will we get there, right? Those are the things that you need to be asking. A name like SoFi yesterday, really good news. Pops to 25, and I got caught all over that move in SoFi. So sometimes you're going to get some, sometimes you're not. They're not all winners, right? But something to be looked at, right? And then yesterday, open, finally coming right back down towards the 350. Will it get some love today? We'll see what happens. Take a look at momentum, right? Momentum all around. HIMS, remember we were getting this one right back up. It filled the gap. We played it to the upside, and then it just crashed right back down. So I think this is what we need to be looking at. We'll see what happens in different stocks. We can go through the watch list. We can go through the playbook. We can go through different stocks in the market. But let's get to that action. We'll kick things off with the playbook. We'll get to the sunrise report after that, where we take a look at what stocks are moving and why. And don't forget, jump in the chat, guys. I'm catching up for you guys out there. Can one trade prop firms with bots? Great question, Culture. You're in the right spot, my friend. So Trade the Pool is all about supporting you guys with trading bots. So we do have connections that you can make with Signal Stack. And so take a look into our video if you didn't catch it. We actually put out a video on our page. So hit that subscribe button first. go to our homepage, find that video to explain you exactly how you could be creating your bots and trading with us. So definitely smash a like for that. We got a lot more for you guys right here on Trade the Pool. All right, let's keep going. We'll take a look around the markets. We'll see what we can come up with. Let's keep things moving. Let's go to today's playbook action. All right, guys, let's get back into it. Let's go to the playbook. Let's take a look at what stocks are moving and what stocks I want to catch today. So today's going to be all about looking for potential shorts and then seeing how that turns out, right? Well, we'll see what happens here. I do got different plays that I can take a look at. Just give me 1 second here. Need to grab something there. All right, let's keep things going. We'll take a look at the plays. First up is going to be a play looking to the short side of things to see what happens in like a play like QUBT, right? Of course, QUBT is definitely on my radar. Why? It's a quantum name, right? And I'm looking for a little weakness to come in towards these names. Of course, momentum has broken, and we need to see if it's able to hold on here. So QUBT, of course, in the quantum names, they started to break down and turn around from this look. And it's not just this one, right? Ion Q, you can look at Rigetti yesterday. Ugly reversal. It was looking really good in the beginning part of the day, and then a quick sweep right back up. So QBTS all could be crashing right back down. These names don't have any catalyst or strong catalyst in sight, at least from what I'm seeing. So looking to see if I can get QUBT to break down through the 1450, and then looking for like a VWAP fades type of strategy here for QUBT. We'll see what happens there. Let's keep pushing. All right, we'll see what happens there. Let's go to ARKK, growth under pressure. Growth names could be ready to roll over, eyeing a green to red move with a risk off at 77. Target near 75 here for ARKK. Of course, we're talking growth names. When we talk ARKK, we'll see if this starts to break right back down. Good morning out there, Vic. How we doing out there? It's good to see you in the chat. It's good to see multiple names in the chat. And if you're new to the show, say hello. It's definitely good to see some new faces out there. What's going on? How do I say that? Xylophone? Oh man, I'm butchering that. But definitely, it's good to see you in the chat. New faces. It's always good to see some new faces. Let's keep going. ARKK, we'll see if this can break down. If you look at the hourly chart, what I'm looking for is a bounce and then a short. So I need this to kind of bounce into this area. This is towards the 75 area. You can see like right around in 75s is like pretty much right at the bottom of this. So that's where I'm going to be looking for what I call green to red, right? And that's what the move that we'll be watching for this to get green and then eventually to go red right back down. We'll see what happens. I don't think it's just going to do a real quick cut down. So I'm going to look for that bounce. And if we start to get the wash out, I can go after this on the short side. All right, we'll go to the next one here. We can take a look at Apple to see what's going on there, to see if we can get this to pop back through the 230s and start to rise towards the 240s. And why am I looking at this trade? Well, a lot of us are looking at what's called value now, as growth has been pulled off. We can take a look to see if value names are sticking around to see if we can get a continued lift, right? So this is definitely what we would call value tech. And so, of course, everyone looks at the big boys for this, and Apple could definitely be one of these ways that we could get another little push higher. We can take a look to see how this reacts. It's going to be a good indicator to see if we're coming right back up. All right, we'll see what happens on that to see how some of these other ones can keep flying high, guys. So it's not going to be too bad. Just going to keep pushing to see if Apple can keep just climbing back there to the 250. This has been a great breakout since that 210 break, and now trying to hold the 90 EMA. So maybe a pullback to 227s today, but looking for a move back above 230 to show me strength. All right, we can take a look at some other plays. We'll get to the sunrise report where we take a look at different market action there. Let's just kick things right off into the SPY. We'll talk about what's coming up today, what you need to be kind of looking out for. Of course, sunrise report. Let's get to that action. In the sunrise report this morning, we'll be talking a little bit of a phone. You can get that right off the website. What I recommend is maybe just using some AI to kind of run through that really quickly so that you know exactly what happened on that report, right? And what are we looking for? What we're looking for is more Fed dissent, essentially Feds fighting each other, right? We'll see what happens in that situation. The S&P futures were slipping alongside the NASDAQ 100 futures this morning. Dow Jones Industrial Average was also dropped 75 points, about a 0.2%. Investors are digesting a mixed bag of retail earnings and awaiting the Fed July's minutes today. We'll see how that works out. Let's go to some of the retail earnings spotlight. Let's move first up, Lowell getting a nice little lift there towards 270 after Home Depot got hit hard yesterday. This set the bar low for low, haha, pun intended. Shares popped 4% pre-market after posting an EPS of $4.33 versus a $4.24 expected. The company also announced a $8.8 billion acquisition of the foundation building materials to strengthen the pro contractors business. Target came in here also giving in their earnings. Let's take a look at Target as their shares sank 8% and shares fell again as sales fall here. Comparable store sales dropped 1.9% year over year, transactions falling 1.3%, and CEO Brian Cornell will step down in February as COO Michael Findecki is set to take over. So it looks like just a little bit of a move there, a shift in, of course, leadership. This is telling me more and more at some point Target's going to be a buy. But when will be that point, right? How low can we go in Target? I mean, we are going back down and back down, guys. This has been a disaster of a discount store. And I'll tell you right now, I go to Target all the time. It is packed here. So I think at some point, they're going to find a way to turn things around. Let's continue to watch those comparable store sales and wait for a turn in those store sales. That alone could be the thing that we're looking for. So keep your eyes on Target. I think in the long run, it's some name that I want to watch. But like always, we want to keep seeing what happens here and when does it actually turn around, right? So one way to do that is just to draw a long-term trend line on the monthly chart and wait for that to turn. Instead of waiting for you to kind of catch the bottom, waiting for it to come back through this line and then working its way higher. So I'm going to draw that line as a green line here, and I'm going to erase some of these other lines because those don't even matter anymore. At this point, it's just yearly lows, and you just want to be looking at monthly levels mainly to see if we can get back into this zone. 74 to 50 is going to make sense for me in Target. At some point, this has to kind of come back. We've had 1, 2, 3 kind of bottomings events. So now I'm looking for one more whoosh down. After that whoosh, I'll look for some sideways consolidation and for a move where it can maybe start to come back down, right? You're coming into this area. Then you can kind of just chop around here a little bit, start working your way back, start working your way sideways, and then finally start to work your way out of it. That's the way I see it. We'll see what happens in Target. Not a bad one to think about for long-term investment, but right now on the trade, it's not looking good by any means. What's up out there? How we doing out there? Trader Life, what's going on? Good morning to you. It's good to see you out there, man. What are we looking at there? Trader Life is looking at 67 target. 67. That's not a bad look. I think this could definitely turn around. It's an interesting one. I mean, I know why it was hated, but they're not woke anymore, right? So things to be thought about, right? Big milkshake. I can use one of those. What's your favorite milkshake? Big milkshake. Are you Steak and Shake type of fan? Are we a Chick-fil-A milkshake kind of fan? What's your favorite milkshake? I think it's an important one. It's a good question. Steph, good morning. Always appreciate you checking out these small stocks and trading some of these. I see some I love the way you look, the way you think, Steph. I mean, look at this. Just to show you your watch list and look at my watch list. What are those tickers right there? You know it. Here, I'll even make the font size a little bigger so you guys can see it really big here. There it is. What are your three names? We got the first one, all right? NBY, you got Sissy, you got Thar. So boom, I have those two. The only other one that I have, and we can take a look at that, is AUUD. So this is another one that's kind of getting the lift there. It's right around the $2, $3 spot. But what do mine look for? They look for a run about like 5% and then a pullback. So that's the scanner that I'm using, Steph. But hey, appreciate you bringing in a list like always and bringing those stocks up. This one's another list here, but I got lists for days, guys. Here it is. Here's that high day scanner. And if you guys have any like coding services, I can also share this code with you. It's an interesting little one. This isn't like anything crazy, but you can see there's some names there, and there's your NBY. All I got to do is refresh it because it needs to be refreshed. So there's your NBY. TIVC just kind of got the pop there at $4. This one made a really nice little pop right now. Could continue to go, and look at it go. 413s doesn't look too bad. AUUD, THAR, and SISI. Definitely names to kind of keep an eye out for. And looking pretty good. We'll see how those continue to move there. All right, let's keep going. We'll take a look at some different action. Let's keep moving on the Sunrise Report. We've talked about some retail focus. Of course, the Fed focus today is all about investors eyeing the FOMC minutes to see what happened. What's going on here with dissent from federal governor Christopher Waller and Michelle Bowman marked the first dual dissent since 1993, as traders will be parsing for clues when the Fed may finally cut. All right, let's keep going. Let's go to the lazy boy. I could use a lazy boy right now and just sit back, relax, as they're getting plunged 21% after missing earnings, 47 cents on the EPS versus a 53 cent expected. Also guiding weak on revenue. This is the kind of area where you really kind of don't want to be at right now. The consumer is slowing down, guys, and the truth is that a stock like this just doesn't look sexy. It does start to come back, but as soon as this starts to work its way higher, it runs into some altitude and gets hit right back down. So in my eyes, I think lazy boy is something that you stay away from. It's not a stock that I want by any means necessary. And it also doesn't look like a short because it's just been sideways for so long, right? You're talking 10 years and the stock's gone nowhere. Why even have this stock? Why even trade it? That's the way I feel. Maybe if you got it on the plunge, right, and you're just looking for this to continue going, but in my eyes, this is just a no touch. Toll Brothers is one to kind of keep an eye out for. Of course, we know how Warren Buffett took a big step into the home builders. So there's two options that can happen here, right? Of course, with a rate cut, we could see home builders lift. But another thing to keep on concern is, will that kind of hold us up? Or will we see a takedown, right? And I think these are all things to be thought about, right? I think that if you want to trade these, you can. You can also look at a home builder's supplier, right? This actually looking really good and strong right now. If you take a look at the weekly and the daily, it's actually holding in. So as much as I'm bearish a little bit of these, I think that we got to ride the momentum, especially for the time being, into the rate cut. And these are the stocks that if Jerome says there's a rate cut coming, could see another lift. Yes, you heard it here first, right? I want everyone to catch those moments. Those are the slight information bits that I can give you that you will probably hear about it, but when? Probably after the fact, right? So that's why I try to get you guys ahead of the game and focused on what to look for so that when you see it, you are able to go into reaction mode and action mode versus just being like, oh, well, what does this mean? Or what am I looking for? That's one of the things to look for. All right, we'll keep going out there. It's good to see you in the chat. What's going on out there, guys? It's going to be a wild one. Hendrix, what are you doing out back there? You guys see little Hendrix hanging out back there. I live in Nova Scotia, and so we have different restaurants, but I like a Big Stop milkshake. Big Stop milkshake. I'm going to have to look that one up. Hey, what's your favorite flavor? That's what I'm going to ask for. You a chocolate, vanilla, strawberry fan? Gotta let us know. What's up out there, Steph? What's another one you got on your radar? It looks like you got, what do we got here? PPCB. We could take a look at that one. That's a biotech. Oh my God, what is going on with that thing? Did that really kind of move from? Man, I have no idea what's going on with this thing. This thing's super liquid though, so just be careful with that. It's definitely moving all around, but this is a little scary for me, Steph. This is one of those that I just stay away just because it's a little too much, and the spread right now is tight. But man, this thing's moving all over the place. PPCB, propane biopharma. I don't know if I want anything propane in my bio, but we'll keep it moving. What's up out there, Vic? How we doing? Looks like it's really getting kicking on tariffs. Yeah, the tariff conversation really starting to really kind of move there. TMC, another one, TIVC maybe? Let's see. Yeah, TIVC. I've heard that one before. I've seen that one kind of move. That was the one that just broke 4 when we saw that one break there. And it's all about the chocolate. Chocolate. Hey, I can't blame you. I like me a little strawberry. But hey, got to go with a little chocolate, man. All right, let's keep it going. Hopefully we can get some milkshake in the market today, guys. We're going to need it. Yesterday was a pretty tough day in the day trade account. That's where I'm really struggling right now, guys. And you guys see it. It can sometimes affect you, can sometimes really kind of leak into your other trading. What I'm trying to do is just focus in on my swing trading. And what I really need to do in the day trading is size down dramatically. And then if I can size down dramatically, I can get back into the green and start to push on when I find the consistency again. Right now, in day trading, it just seems like, there's a little bit of a chop in the market, the change in the action. And with that, you're going to run into a little bit of a rut. So what do I need to do? I need to hit the brake pedal. Brake on. We'll see what happens in some other action. All right, enough of that. We talked about the sunrise report. We talked about different action in the market. We've got to really kick the show off at 9 a.m. as we'll be joined by Michael Noss. But I did want to bring in a little bit of the swing trade conversation. So let's get to it here. GDRX. You guys see the swing trade on right now. And I still got this, guys. I took this yesterday, and I've been holding this for a while now. I'm up a good amount. I'm up 104. I got this at 488s, looking for this to continue doing the hangover short, but we wanted to come back into this 429, 430 spot. That's kind of the area that I'm targeting. If I could get that to come down there, we're talking, $400, $500. Should I run for the cash? All things to be thought about, but hey, we'll definitely be taking a look at it. Good morning to you, Talk. It's good to see you in the chat. It's good to see all you guys out there. We're going to rock and roll today. It's going to be another great day for you guys. We got a lot to take a look at, guys, so let's keep pushing. Let's see what we can come up with, and we'll see, guys. If today is the day that we can get a bounce in the market, we're going to need it. Let's go ahead. Let's kick the show off. It's time. Let me know in the chat what's your top pick. I'll definitely take a look at some stocks that you guys are watching in the market. Let's kick things off and really start things. Start that countdown. Let's go make some money.
Wants 200, baby.
You ready to get back to the trading action?
You aim, you shoot, and make money. It's going to be a great day. You guys know where you're at.
Let's go, guys. Let's get it going. Let's go ahead. Let's bring on the man himself. Michael Noss.
Did we all survive the great bear market of August?
Dude, it's not done yet. Or is it?
We're down 0.79%, and I see everybody freaking out on Twitter.
It's because they're super long Palantir. They're super long Palantir. Dude, I had the call yesterday. You get those calls from your trading buddies, right?
Yeah.
The guys that just I have a couple of friends that just aren't like, I would say, professionals, right? So they give me calls all the time in moments like this. And then they call me yesterday and he's like, what do I do in Palantir, man? What do I do? Do I sell now? And I'm like, but now, I mean, he's like, it's like 20 points down. Well, these are conversations to be had. And I think that you and
Well,
I
how
talk
much are
about
you up
this.
on, right? Like that's
You
the
and I,
other
you and I
question.
talk about these all the time. You got to have your plan ahead of time,
Yeah.
right? Having your plan when everything's starting to break down, that's just not the time to have to start setting a plan, right? This is
No,
why
and
it's so important to have systems, right?
it's two different problems too, right? If it's
Yeah,
down 20%, but you're still up 200% on it, that's a different problem. If you bought it at the top and it's down 20%, you have a hard time. But
yeah.
I just cannot, like, it was crazy to see the freakouts yesterday with just, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, so I did, of course, I did a little,
You know what I?
little smack talking as I normally do, and
Yeah, let's see some of the smack. Let's see some of the smack
so
here.
I've actually got a couple things that I think are queued up just to kind of calm people down.
Let's have
First
some
of all,
fun here. You
so
guys out
where
there,
oh,
smash the like, drop some comments. Let me know what you think about
so
moments.
this one with a nice 2,500 impressions, and just hold me, I'm scared. We're almost down 1% from all time highs because at yesterday's close, we're down 0.79% from all time highs. Did we forget April where the market would move 3-4% a day? And we are down this much from the highest point we've ever been on the most important index in the world,
Yeah.
and people are losing their minds. It's
There's
crazy.
there's a thing though. There's a thing here I think that's very important. It's the buy the dip mentality got broken yesterday. And
Did it?
so
We're down
it did. It,
0.79%. There's no
they,
dip. We haven't
but
dipped.
it got broken in the sense that yesterday I felt like, and I can see it. This is the telling sign, man. I was at a store, and when I was talking to my friend about the Palantir, and I had like my headphones on, right? So I was just like kind of having a conversation, and the cash, the guy at the cash register, literally turns to me and says, "Yeah, just buy the dip, right?" That is your sign right there.
Well, first
That
you got to
is
wait
your
for a dip.
sign.
We got to get a dip first. We're down 0.79, and then to
Yeah,
back
but
it up.
that's your sign when the grocery guy is telling you buy the dip. Do you think that the greediness out there in the market is at all time high?
Hey, well, I've got some data to show you that it's not just yet. So just hold on
Yeah,
here.
let's go.
Over 70% of stocks in the S&P 500 were up yesterday. So just
Mm,
because your stock sucked, it's not my problem, right?
yeah.
So it's like Palantir is not the market,
So the
you
breath
know?
wasn't that bad, right? To give those other traders that might not understand that.
Yeah, it's like most stocks were up 70%. That's a
Yeah.
huge amount of stocks to be up yesterday, and like 5 stocks were down,
Yeah, I like to help
you know?
add to that. Let's just take a quick moment here. I always like to look at the FinViz numbers, right? The kind of the stats
Oh,
that
yeah.
they have right there for you guys. So if you guys could take a look at that, we can.
I
So
think
right
that's
there, I think
data
those are
now.
the important ones, and that's what I look at a lot, right?
Yeah.
So the advancing, declining, right? New highs, new lows, above the SMA 50 and the 200, right? I think we only get really concerned when we get that SMA 200 like above like 55, 60, right? Right now, it's not even at 50%. You still
Yeah.
have you're still having that like kind of matching action right now, and the SMA
Well,
50 is still showing that there's some names hanging on here.
so then, most names, right? So this is one of those things where I put this together. This is the percentage return yesterday of all the 11 SPY sectors. As you
Yeah,
see, most were up. There's only one that was down big, right? And again, we've been pounding the table on the fact that the big guys who are normally wrong are long the cues and they are short everything else. And what we're seeing is this trade unwind. So
yeah,
if you owned anything except mega cap tech yesterday, you're like me where you're looking at Twitter going, what are you guys freaking out about? There's one sector that was down yesterday. The rest of them did absolutely fine, right? Even communications. And if you think about it, a lot of people, communications is tech, right? Because communications is Google. Google's the largest by far component of communications, and that was down 0.5%. And then everything else just screaming by. We had 2% increase in real estate, home builders just rocketing. It was a great day there. And then also, this is just a little AI summary I got, right? 58% of their companies are trading above the 60-day, 62% are trading above their 200-day. Only 5% of the companies made new highs, and only 1% of the companies made new 63-day lows. So really nothing was down yesterday. So this is why it's lazy, and you'll see a lot of people do it. They'll bring up, just like the Qs and say, oh, what a bad day yesterday. Well, first of all, right, if you're looking at this and saying that's a horrible day, check yourself, because it's just nothing. But
Yeah.
we're down, I think, on the Qs like 1.5% from all-time highs. So that means two things. One, we're seeing the rotation that been telling you could see it in the positioning data that this was going to happen. It's not some hidden secret. These guys are wrong a lot, and they were short, so they have to get out. So they're buying things like the IWM, and then they're selling things like the Qs. The other thing is, it means we probably got further to go in this unwind. So I would go back to this chart, and I would expect to see more of this take place over the next bit. Another one to look at is just the Dow over the Qs, right? So if you go and you do a weekly chart, and let's make a line chart to make it really clear. But if you look at this ratio, obviously for the longest time, you've been way better to invest in big cap tech than in something like the Dow that owns a little bit of financials, a little bit of healthcare, a little bit of, we'll call it the safer tech with Apple and things like that. I think this ratio starts to point up. So this is all great news for people who are not just heavily invested in mega cap tech. If you own the markets, i.e. different stocks out there, I think you're going to have a really good time. If you're okay with trading different stocks, you're going to have fun. And it could be one of those times where you're able to put on shorts on large cap tech, and you're able to put on longs on things like financials, and actually make on both sides. It's not a very common market where you can have both longs and shorts on in different sectors and do great. Usually one's a hedge against another. But I think for traders and for people who are just not, I just don't own NVIDIA and Palantir and these names, I think it's going to be a great time. And
Yeah, this is also a lesson, I think, in concentration, right? And I think that this is also
yep,
that type of game, right? Because I think that this is part of it, right? When we're having these kind of euphoric markets, people have a tendency of going for the euphoria names, the names that are highest flying and flying fast. But those are the names that come crashing down the fastest also. So this is why I was talking about early how we were getting this flight to quality, and how you had to rotate away from the momentum names a lot of the times and try to stay with the momentum. If you don't, you get wrecked. Or you give up your gains, and you need to be willing to have that plan already established beforehand. So when the moment comes, you're either taking your profits and running, and then reassessing in like some time, giving yourself some time on the chart. And I think that that's where some people are maybe doing things wrong. And I feel like this happens a lot of times when you're swing trading, where you get a moment like this, and there's usually some signs ahead of time that this is starting to turn. If you don't take your money, that's where the greed comes into play. And I think that that's what comes into play yesterday. And then, some people were looking at that Palantir, oh, but it's 4 days down. Today's the day it's coming right back up. No, guys,
well,
it's not the
and
way it
then
works.
so
Right?
like imagine your buddy, for example, who I'm
Yeah.
assuming has had Palantir for some
Yeah,
time.
we can talk about that a little bit more to give a little more context on that. So he's had 2 entrances into Palantir, and on both of them he's made over 100%. He's taken out half on both times to just pay himself, right? And he
Nice.
still has positions that are really kind of not of value anymore because he's made money, but at the same time, like last time when Palantir fell, he ended up selling some, but just when on like after like a 20% decline, right? And so those are the
Right.
types of moments where I'm just like, one question I had for him was, where do you expect Palantir to go to, like top target? Like Do you even have one? Like, is it 500? Is it $1,000? Is Palantir going to 1,000? Is that your mentality? And then the truth is, he doesn't have one there, and he just wants to kind of ride it out. And I said, okay, that's fine too. If you want to make this an investment at this point, it's okay. But you stop worrying so much about that small decline, right?
That's
It's your
exactly it,
investment,
right? You
right?
know, if you've doubled and you've taken half out, you got to not look at it
You
anymore.
gotta not
Gotta,
look, right? And
you just
we'll say that because as much as we're like a proponent of technical analysis and things like this, but when it
Mhm.
becomes in the investment and you're just looking at long term, you can't worry about the intraday action, right? Like, that intraday action shouldn't be what really drives you. It's more, is there a big fundamental change, a negative fundamental change maybe that's happening in the company, and then you can see maybe your way out. But right now, that's not what's happened here. It's just more momentum has come crashing down. Now the question
yeah.
is, will it come back, right? It could come back. There's nothing to say that it's completely gone, but some of the momentum names are going to have some struggles here. And that's normal,
Well,
right?
and just look at this chart, right? So it already had once this year 50%. It's got cut in half already. So
Yeah.
you should expect that kind of name, and then ideally you have an exit plan. So then he's got dry powder, he's got capital.
Yeah.
So if this thing gets cut in half again, which if you go back in its history, right, it does fairly frequently. That's another time it
Hmm.
got cut in half, and that's another time it got cut in half. So you are sitting there with dry powder, and you should look at it and say, well, I hope, right, this thing gets down to like
Yeah.
$100. It won't quite be cut in half at that point, but if it gets back to $100, then you're reloading, you're
Yeah.
buying at, and that's how it should work, is you sell a
Yeah.
bit on the way up, and then you're buying as it's crashing back down, and not all at once, because you'll never catch the bottom. But say the dude made 20K off the trade. Well, maybe you split it up and you put like 5K in now, then you wait a week, you put 5K in, then you wait a week or two, you put 5K in, right? So you're just kind of averaging back in, if you still believe in this, knowing that, again, Palantir gets cut in half all the time. It's just
Yeah.
kind of what it does. What a
Yeah.
lot of, like, Hims is another one, right? If you really like this one and agree with it, like I want it over these highs right here. I've never gotten an entry yet, but I know that this thing gets 50, 60, 70% drawdowns all the time. So when they happen, that's when you got to be, and it's just very hard for people to do, is to say, oh, it's down 40%. Now's the time to pull the trigger, especially if they're still holding some and they're getting burnt on the way down. But that's how
Yeah.
you have to play these names, right?
Yeah.
Palantir, like I still own some. I got in some right here on this candle. You had that
Yeah.
insane reversal day. So that's the kind of thing that I'd be waiting for. But yeah, it's not over. We had one down day and everyone's losing their mind. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
I think it's also just having an ability also to say that a good trade is done too. I feel like sometimes, like when we have these really good trades, we like have our own mentality that we start to fight. We're like, but if I miss out on 220 from like 180, like what is that
Yeah.
really too much of a difference, right? At that point, it's really not that big of a difference. I think that sometimes you need to be willing to say, like, this was a great trade. I had a really good trade. Now it's starting to turn. Let's just cut and reassess. There's nothing wrong with that. And then I also think, like kind of, I told him, I was like, there's also okay to say maybe, hey, so you still had that portion, right, that you wanted to keep flying high, but
Hmm.
you're at the point where you're considering taking profits. I was like, why not just take that profit, use that profit to look for the pullback to come down further, like you mentioned, around maybe the 100, and then just put that money back on. But put the money back on when you think the correction is done here,
Yeah, at a
right?
better price
At a
for
better
more.
price.
And this is why quite often people will, again, sell on the way up, and then the correction could be just chop, right? It doesn't have to get cut in half.
Yeah.
It could just do nothing for 6 months, and then
Yeah.
you just wait for that to resolve
And
higher. And
you
this
save the
is
opportunity cost, right? By doing
right.
that. I,
And
I think.
you're no longer sweating every tick. You're just saying, okay, when we start to break out again, that's when I'll get involved. And you'll see that all the time with the William O'Neill disciples, right? They'll
Yeah.
they'll pick a stock like Palantir, and then they just wait for that they believe in the company because of the growth story or whatever it is, and they're just picking their moments. They're either picking pullbacks or breakouts or something like that, and they buy. And as soon as they get a move in their favor, they're starting to pair some off and then waiting for that next opportunity. But it's one of those when people are losing their mind right now. I think two things. One, they're just perma bears who are just underinvested and have missed this awesome bull market. So they're just, nothing you can do about those guys. Or there's people who FOMO'd in at the top and they just FOMO'd into the wrong names. Because as we mentioned, 70% of names are moving higher. Look at this ITB. Look at this home builders chart. Like this looks amazing for a potential breakout.
Yeah.
And then just look at the price action yesterday compared to like a Palantir or something.
Yeah, we
And
got
you
to go
don't.
nailing it.
Oh yeah, I keep forgetting about that one.
Why not
3x.
nail it, man? Look at
That's a
that
good
one.
one.
Look at the
And it's
hourly
like,
chart. Looks prime.
so if you have home builders that are holding up, you have healthcare that was holding up, you have finance that did fine. So if your banks are fine, your people that are building your homes are fine, and your healthcare guys are fine, you're not this
Rotate.
right. Yeah, this
Rotation,
isn't
guys.
a systemic issue. This is the fact that if you just go, we did this a lot. If you go to the NQ and you look at this red line, this is everybody has been long the NQ for a very long time. And then you go to the RTY, which is your small caps, they are more short than they've been for ages. So they're short the value names versus the growth names, and they have been wrong. And we've been saying this the whole time. At some point, this trade has to unwind. It just has to, and that's what we're seeing right now. We're not seeing a crash. We're seeing a rotation from name A to name B.
And that's important. That's important to know, right? We haven't had anything to give us that something broke yesterday. It's just more momentum and a flight to quality and value names going higher. We talked about how Johnson and Johnson, names like that are pushing, right? This tells us what? That sometimes it's okay to go take the non-sexy trade as long as you see the rotation going into it, right? And then maybe able to make some cash while these names go down. This is another thing that I was talking with that trader about. I was like, the best traders have the ability to also say, hey, well, I do see this pullback in tech coming, but I see rotation in healthcare coming. And yes, it might not be where healthcare XLV is going all the way back to the highs, but can I maybe make some percentage in the meantime, make some money in the meantime? Yes, I think that's one way to approach it. And trying to ride maybe the tails of some value names for a little while until you see this rotation flip back.
Exactly. And it's just, this market will only punish people who only trade one market. And there's a lot of people out there who just, I'll only trade the growth stocks of the world.
Or even worse, I'm only going to trade Tesla or something like that.
It's like why? Why not? At that point, I always just think, why not just trade futures? Right?
Yeah.
The advantage we have is that there's just tons of stuff on the go. I just did a very simple exercise last night where I just took this list and I sorted it by the stocks that were up. First of all, you see the RSP, so the average large cap stock did great. And you start going down the list, like retail, home builders, Berkshire Hathaway had a great day, insurance, utilities, like just down the list. Most of this stuff is green, and then you start getting into the red. And I'm just like, I'm going to focus on these green names. And that's what I'm going to look to buy some today. Home builders, again, I'm glad. Thank you for bringing that nail. I love the look of that because that's a 3x leverage, and back to highs on nail is a double.
Yep. And we can look at certain stocks there. I think it's important to maybe mention a couple of names that could be here to look at. Builders First Source, I know that's a Steve favorite. BLDR, I like it too. Just to mention some names in here that I think are some to maybe look at. Maybe a CARR, CARR, that has pulled back a decent amount.
So I mentioned LEN, LEN.
LEN.
Yeah, that one looks interesting.
Lennar, of course. And don't forget, Buffett, right? Why not follow the man? The man that knows where value is.
Well, and I talked about this. I love this. And it was funny. I saw on some podcast, or I was on a Spaces or something, everyone was crapping on his buying of all these home builders. And it's like, dude, nailed it. But this is a ratio I take a look at all the time. And this is
Burke.
Right, Burke versus ARK. And ever since the April lows, ARK has been kicking butt because that's the phase. But you can see these cycles in and out
Yeah.
where this is a very, a simple version of growth versus value. And you can see there's times that value outperforms, there's times that growth outperforms. It looks like we're seeing that shift. So as this ratio moves up, it just means long one, short the other. I know a guy, and he basically was trading this range of buying Burke and selling ARK over and over again, and he's been doing great. He just puts on this pairs trade, just reverses it back and forth. And yesterday he put on,
Interesting trade.
yeah, he just bought a whole bunch of Burke B and he shorted a whole bunch of ARK. And so if this ratio moves higher, then he's doing great. But
This is a
I think,
trade we were talking yesterday about. I could see it there, right? Burke B was already setting up there, and it's already higher, right? It's already now close to a 1% from yesterday's kind of pullback action off the 485s, right? And so I think you continue to watch this as an indicator also, right? How high will this continue to fly is also a sign that we're still in that flight to quality mode. That's why I'm actually keeping my eyes a little bit out for Apple to see if it can hang on. Apple's pulled back here, but not as far. So, of course, a lot of people view that as value tech now. So we'll see what happens with that. If that can kind of continue to fly higher, Burke B continue to fly higher. Any other kind of names that are on your radar in kind of the value names?
I'm looking at KRE a lot here. It didn't do insane yesterday, but XLF, the big guys financials, did just fine. So the little guy financial, I think, is one of those that's interesting to look at. Especially, we have a pretty clear resistance up here around 64, 65, if we can get through that. And it's DPST, I think, which is the triple leveraged of this name. And look at just the tightening action that we've seen here on these regional banks. So 3 times regional banks, that's interesting to me. It's going to have a whole lot to do with rates and what comes out of Jack's hole on Friday. So I probably won't do anything before then. But we're going to have a big, he's going to come out and yap about whatever. You guys know couldn't pay me to follow any of that stuff. But Jerome Powell is going to say words, and after those words are done, I think you could potentially get a move in regional banks as a good way to kind of get a proxy on or some leverage on XLF for the big guys. And then I still like some of these big guys. Look at Bank of America's chart. That's a nice look.
Financials overall are one area that I think could get the lift and help this rotation, right? We talked about that yesterday. It was still pulling back. I saw JPM trying to make a move, so let's just keep our eyes on the banks overall, especially the big boys. I think that's a very good look to watch, right? And you see that trend line. Anybody can see that trend line. Let's see if it starts to go above that and we have a high volume breakout.
Yeah, and you got to do the ETF as well, I guess. You could do what FAS is the 3 times leveraged.
It's a little harder. I've played FAS a little bit. It's a little bit harder, I think, to grab than Bank of America. It's just the good thing about Bank of America is that the ATR is doesn't move much. It trades between $1 a lot, right? Like majority of the days are going to trade within $1, so you can measure your risk a little easier, I think, than an FAS. FAS is going to trade $5 in between, but it doesn't look bad there if it starts to get, especially back towards 170. I'd like it a little bit closer to the 170 breakout.
Yeah, and it's funny. I remember I paid for my university trading FAS back in the day.
Got to go back to it, man.
The idea is that we're looking back in that day. Again, that was 2008-ish. It was a pretty easy trade to make. You would just come in every day and either buy FAS or FAZ, depending on what happened. I remember every time they would come out and add lists to this. Eventually in 2008, they made it so you couldn't short certain names. And every time a name would come and hit that cannot short list, you would just short the heck out of it any way you could. And by doing that, you'd essentially just buy this FAZ every time they added. Because it was kind of like, someone saying, hey, don't pick on my little brother because he can't defend himself. Every time the government came out and said, don't short JP Morgan, don't worry, it's fine, everything's fine, nothing to see here, you would just buy this. And yeah, we can go back to 2008. You can see it. Well,
Synthetic markets, baby.
well, that was, yeah. And this, again, this shows you why also, I guess, why not to hold this thing for a long period of time, because it does this. But yeah, 2008, yeah, these things just launched at that time and the movements were crazy. It's all messed up now with all the splits that happened, but you would get a 10+% move in this a day. So as a day trader, it was just an amazing. There was a while there where that was it. I had one screen and I had FAS and FAZ up, and I would have the XLF chart up and I'd be watching that, and it would just be buy the one, sell the other. There's a couple moments like that. I missed 2000, but that was anytime something added .com to its name, you'd buy it and it would triple throughout the day. And then 2008, it was find a bank that the more the bank came out and said, we're fine, the more you shorted it. And that was a good time as well. And I don't know, we could be, I feel like this is bigger than a lot of people think, because I think too many people are focused too hard on your Palantirs and your this and that, and they're just not, because they're not doing, you got to imagine the everyman is not doing what we're doing, where they're noticing the commitment of traders data ahead of time, they're seeing the rotation, they understand that it makes sense. The people that we follow on like Twitter and stuff like that know this, but most people don't. And I think that's going to give this lags for some period of time, because what's going to happen is they're going to look and see and think that we're in some sort of awful bear market, because the hymns and the Palantir and all these names that they know and love are just getting creamed, and they're not looking at the other 70% of the market that's doing fine. So the more of a disconnect there is there, the longer I think it takes to kind of cycle through the system, and the better it is for us, because we can, again, I have this trade on where I'm short the NASDAQ and long the IWM.
All I
I'm
gotta
just
say is
covering it.
I should still be short Ethereum. Oh my God, those guys, they set me up, man. I knew it those days. That day they were all pounding their chest on Wednesday last week, and they're hit hard. Those guys that bought new positions, definitely. That was just not the move. And the worst part is I saw so many selling their Bitcoin to do it. I was like, bro, now you do that?
Yeah, I don't feel bad for those guys.
Yeah, you're dumb. You're just dumb, man.
If you're buying, right, it made 130% gain
And
since July, and now
I'm
it's
not gonna
down
put
10%.
I'm not gonna put their names out there, but 2 or 3 of them are on CNBC all the time.
You're buying after the 150. Not only that, your 150% move here to
just makes no
all-time highs.
sense. But I started seeing people just saying,
right?
"Oh, but Ethereum's going on this huge breakout."
Probably is, right?
Yeah, but you gotta wait. You
It's
gotta
got to
buy the
chill for a second.
resistance. Yeah.
Like, yeah, if you're buying, so it goes. I was just measuring from here. If we measure from the lows, yeah, it's a 250% gain to
Yeah.
smack into all-time highs. It's like, yeah, you're probably right, but it's either going to pull back harshly or chop around here for a period of time. I don't. Yeah,
It's just when I start to see it's always when people get all one-sided.
Yes.
There was nobody
Well,
telling me on Twitter that they wanted to short Ethereum, right? And that one-sidedness sometimes can drive because it's the herd, but it also can turn around, and the Max Payne trade could get put on real quick.
well, again, if you want to know why I follow COT data, I think this Ethereum move is a perfect example.
Yeah,
They are the most short they've been in years right here.
right here.
Right before the double breakout, and then they get the most long they've ever been in years right here, right at
They
the
start
top.
to cover.
Like, so now I would expect what you're probably going to see this weekend when the new COT data comes out is more of a normalization, more of a downtick here. And then maybe that would be your sign. But yes, again, you can see what the masses did. They shorted Ethereum on this little breakdown wick and got creamed. And then they bought Ethereum right here at the top. And now they're getting creamed. So I don't want to say it's that simple, because it's not, but it's just so huge to know the opposite of what people are doing, right? Again, they're short
Yep.
Ethereum right in this area, and just know when that boat is really crowded again. A good follow for all of this stuff is a guy named Jason Shapiro. He's written up in the Market Wizards books, and he has made an entire career and multi-million dollars. And this is all he does. The only thing he does, he looks for big positioning on one side or the other, and then he waits for some catalyst or news event or something to take the other side. And he'll go, I was watching his hedge fund the beginning of this year, and it was 6 months and he didn't make a trade. And then all of a sudden, he noticed that everybody was short, and he's done the same trade I did, where he is short the NASDAQ, long the IWM, and he's already beating the performance of most people. And it's all he does. He's just a great follow, a great read in his book too, because he talks about how he tried every other technical analysis kind of thing under the book. And this made the most sense to him, because all he's doing is saying, I'm making the bet that most people in the stock market lose money, which is a pretty easy bet to make. So I just have to do the opposite of what most people are doing in the stock market, and I'll make money. And yeah, just look for the other side and take it.
All right, GDX opening up down. The hangover short is still on, Kevin. It's still on, my friend. We'll see what happens. VIX jumping right out the gates there. Apple getting a little spike there to 230s. That's one to watch for. I like it if it can actually hold above 230s at some point today. And we'll be watching to see Bitcoin, names like that, to see if they get the lift, right? Will momentum just come right back into the market? I think you got to be careful here out the gates. I think there's going to be a lot of kind of buy traps, but it could also just be that it rides up, right? So I think we're in a little bit of a mixed noise, and we're in this kind of like lull between Jackson Hole, where that's what's also causing some of this. So be careful for just another chop day. At least that's what I'm going to put out before the day starts, right? Really.
Well, and the question, we really have to define what is the market right now.
Yeah.
Because we're seeing it already. The Dow is up 0.3% and the NASDAQ is down 0.5%. So we're seeing it already to start the day, is that big cap tech is getting creamed. We have the RSP, which is equal weighted, going up. So it's one of those, most stocks in the market are doing fine. Your big cap tech names are just getting creamed again. So make sure you're focusing on both of those. And there just might be ways to trade both long and short. When you have this split of what you see in the market, then that's great. You can take advantage of that, and you can say, okay, well, I want to buy, I don't know, XYZ regional bank or something like that, and I want to be short this other name, right? Be short, something like financials, or sorry, Palantir or Hims or whatever, and just play the rotation that everyone else is. Because if this is a forced unwind, the way it looks like it is, it's going to take probably a week or two, and it's going to be in a straight line. Because if you're a hedge fund shutting down, unwinding your position, you're not doing it nicely. You're not being chill about it.
Yeah, exactly. Looking for some more breakdown in GDRX. Looking around out there, out the gates, I'm only seeing TEM up, SMR up a little bit. I had SMR yesterday on the swing, got hit hard on that one, about 200 down on that one. Took a shot. It was about. It was also like kind of a known thing to look for after 7 days down on the downside. Look for that up move, but we got 8 days down, straight down now in SMR. What you seeing out there, Rocket?
Yeah, Steph's mentioned Rocket. That's it. Rocket, the pharmaceutical, not the mortgage.
Yeah,
and that's a nice looking chart
not
here.
a bad looking chart.
It's right in the middle of like a void, right?
Yeah,
There's
a little
kind of
topping
nothing
at
here.
4. A little topping at 4 there. I could see a pullback to 350 making sense there, or a pullback into the 375 and then another move through 4. It's not bad to watch. We'll see if we get some other names that kind of high fly. Sectors out the gates: energy, utilities, and defensive. Makes clear sense for those to be the names that are pushing hard here. Real estate, healthcare behind that, of course. Exactly what we talked about. And what else is in the green? Financial services. So literally exactly what we talked about. And what's also getting hit here? Important. Consumer cyclical. That's 0-0, now turning green. Industrials, now turning green. What's getting hit? Technology, down 0.41, right?
Well, and this is why it's important to look at like consumer discretionary, for example. What is consumer discretionary? Well, it's mostly Tesla and Amazon. That makes up like the large percent. I think it's like 30% of this particular index. So yeah, it's, I've got this sorted by what's up or down on the most. And if you scroll to the bottom, it's XTL, which is telecom. So Google, Psychedelics, which is also speculative. It's technology is down a bunch. And then if you scroll to the top, you've got gold, weed still going. So look at that. That's nice. And then real estate. So it's just more of the same. And it's until this unwind is done, you're going to see this. And a lot of people are going to be left scratching their heads, and they're going to get on the train a little bit too late, because I think what's going to happen is we're going to get 1 week where that commitment of trader data converges. And then we're not like super net short this thing and super net long that thing. And when that commitment of trader data converges, well, then the trade's over, and you're probably better do the other thing, where maybe you sell your regional bank thing and you buy back Palantir. Because if it's a forced sell, it's great for us, sucks for them, but they're not my problem.
Somebody just covered about like 60,000 shares there in GDRX. So I'm just keeping an eye on that one. That was a big order. Open trying to push there at 362. I do see that one having a little bit of a bounce back. That's a good thing for you, my friend. Hanging on. VIX pulling back a little bit here. Apple pulling back a little bit. Looking around to try to see some trends. One trade that I am looking at, and I've never traded it really, and I got to maybe take a shot on it, is like a Lockheed Martin. Nice setup here to go above 445s, 440s, keep holding, and a good gap to go after.
Yeah, ITA looks great here. Nice little push right off the open. It got killed with a lot of the other market, but I think ITA also has Palantir in it, so that would make sense if that's part of it. But yeah, we're seeing a lot of nothing to get started with, right? So I've marked here the pre-market lows, and then also the pre-market highs. And until we break one of those things, we just have to kind of understand that we're in the middle of it. And we don't have. Oh yeah, we do have all kinds of FOMC guys talking.
Yeah, it's going to be all about the descent today.
Dudes.
You're going to also get to see one stock that could have a drive today. Hertz had news. Wasn't able to cover too much of that, but I can cover it a little bit right now. Hertz and Amazon. HTZ will sell used cars on Amazon Auto. Customers can browse online, sign paperwork digitally, and pick up the vehicle at Hertz location. Launch cities are Dallas, Houston, LA, Seattle, with expansion to 45 markets planned. Brand offered Ford, Toyotas, Chevrolets, Nissans are going to be able to be bought right there on Amazon.
Yeah, it's helping Hertz. Certainly not helping Amazon, but it's definitely helping Hertz.
Yeah, that's why I would watch Hertz on that one. I think that one's one that at least, people don't know where to look today, and sometimes they might just go to the small names, right? They're just like, well, I don't know if I want to play the big boys today. They might look at small names like that. So what I'm looking at is a recovery of 575. If it doesn't recover 575, I won't even look at it.
Well, I'm just looking at the longer term chart here. It actually looks pretty nice. I mean, it had this. I've been, telling, give me as many of these low bases as possible, and this has one that it broke out of and came back and retested. So I might, in kind of my long-term big boy account, nibble on some Hertz today if this holds, and just lean against this kind of $5 level. Just because this has been working so well, these low bases have been doing so great here. Saying Carvana, that's a good idea. CVNA.
Carvana's a good one because if we get rate cuts, I'll tell you one thing: some people are going to be looking more and more at used cars than there are new cars. It's not the new car they'll be looking at. I still think so. I still think used cars is the way to go for a little while now. Oh, and I've been having some car issues. That's not fun, man. My RAV now needs a water pump thing, and
that's not good.
yeah, it's a nice little $2,000 here. 'Cause, you got to pay workers like an insane amount. I could imagine in Canada. When are we getting the AI robot to do all the mechanical issues? Now that is a robot to invest in, Michael.
Yeah, because the cars have just been getting way more complicated over time.
Imagine if the robot could just do it, like literally just tell the robot and just let it go.
I told you I had a buddy who he was quoted like $500-600 to do something to his car, and he went to ChatGPT and said, "How do I fix this thing?" And it was some weird sensor or something like that. He got the sensor for $100 off Amazon, did it himself. So I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't be brave enough to, but just FYI, I got bought into Target here. Reported again really bad earnings. Spent the whole morning under VWAP, pops above, so it's just your simple VWAP to VWAP trade
I
on
was
that
talking
one.
about that one. I was thinking at some point this thing needs to turn around. Some point the valuation's going to make sense to value investors. Our cat going down here. This looks like a potential short for me today. So I'm going to try to get after this one here. All right, just grabbed a little bit RCAT to the short side. Want to see if it can reject 870s on any bounce here, but looking for a flush down towards like 820s. I just want to see this just get flushed. It didn't get flushed yesterday, so names like that are names that I want to kind of hang in. I was actually looking at this bullish yesterday, and so for it to hang in yesterday, kept some of the bulls. Now they can just wash them. And I feel like that's what I'm looking for. Move back down towards 8 on RCAT.
And yeah, across the market, we're seeing the exact same thing as yesterday, where we have the Qs hitting new lows, and then we have the average large cap stock holding up fine, and then we have the Dow holding up fine as well. So just more of the same, right? Sell, don't be in large cap tech. Look for different value names to potentially get involved with. Even IWM, although selling a bit, is holding up better than the Qs, which, if you guys know, is very rare. SOX S, yeah, that's a good idea, right? That's your bear ETF. That one's probably doing phenomenally here for semiconductors because that's the largest part of tech. So just more of the same. We're just seeing this rotation. These guys have been wrong for too long, and you can't stay wrong forever.
Nope. Can't stay wrong forever. That's for sure.
They got greedy. They stayed short the wrong thing for too long, and they were long the wrong thing for too long. So again, you're going to read about it. Mark my words in the news. XYZ hedge fund, long short hedge fund, got completely popped, and we're seeing what's happening here. We're seeing the aftermath of MSOS is interesting, holding up here. So we're getting that marijuana still going.
The same investor asked me about cannabis, and I was like, "Man, this is gonna be like it to me, like it always is. Buy the rumor, sell the news."
Yep.
It might be getting close to that sell the news point.
Well, yeah, I'm just waiting for the news. That will be.
Yeah.
I'm gonna watch
pop day. The pop day. You're looking for that pop day to get out instead of that pop day to be like, "Oh no, now I got to get in."
Yeah, in a perfect world, they say, okay, we're rescheduling it or whatever it's called, and then
reclassifying or
you
reschedule.
you get a gap up on that day, and that's the day I'll kind of be watching like the 5-minute chart, even for a swing. And if that gap looks like it's fading, then
that's a nice 4 a.m. sell, right? Those types of ones where it's just like the news itself just drives the stock almost way too far, and then it's like you got your overnight gift, might as well take it. And I felt like that's what I kind of told him. I was like, you're gonna get a gift day maybe, where it's just like boom, all of a sudden way higher, but then that moment it's been like 9 out of 10 times. It's been a sell moment, right? You can see it on the chart right there to the left. That pop and drop right there on that mark that you have for resistance, right?
Yep.
You can see it was a pop day where there was a high wick and then it came right back down.
And yeah, this is what, if you scroll out, this is just what this sector does.
Yeah, it drives for a couple weeks, right?
Because this gap right here, this is interesting to me to see. I want to see if we can get through this gap first, because this is the gap from the Trump election, which was everyone was thinking there's no way they're sort of rescheduling in here. So that's what I'm watching there. Gold is kind of interesting. Gold miners up. So sold off pretty bad with the market yesterday, but actually gapped up and is trying to kind of get through into yesterday's high. So nice opening range there on the gold miners. Definitely something I want to pay attention to.
On the playbook today, we had QUBT looking for a move through 1450. It did it right out the gates here. QUBT dropping fast with all the quantum names dropping fast. I thought quantum could drop fast. Reason why I think is there's no positive catalyst here to come save them. What's the positive catalyst? It's just all hype in this sector and theme, and that's the ones that are going to come crashing down. The ones with garbage fundamentals like Palantir, you can argue with me that it has okay fundamentals. I know that the PE outlook is like way up there, but at least it makes good money, right? These stocks don't make a single cent.
Yeah. What they're trying to build does not exist and may not be possible
It
to
may not be
exist,
possible.
right?
So these are the ones that are going to get crushed on. Like a Rigetti today, I think is another target. Look at that out the gates, 50 cents down and getting hit hard. Ion Q down out the gates. QBTS down out the gates. I'm just glad that this was an area that I mentioned on the top of the playbook today. I hope you guys caught it here, and hit the like button if you guys appreciate me bringing trade ideas like this. I know a lot of traders don't even mention a trade idea a day. So good action here on QBT. Look at that action since 1450. I missed it. I'm not mad because I'm in RCAT and it's doing well, right? Can't be upset about that. But the setup was there. Look at the daily chart. The daily chart was prime here. So daily support right underneath it, right? So then I'm just looking to see if you can break down back into this area, and then the 15 breaks and the wash starts to come, right? So now you're in no man's land. You're starting to come work your way back to like $13.
Right, and this, I'm gonna flashbang you guys for a second. Just watch this. So this is again the story of the day, right? So SPY down, RSP up. So SPY, right? These two charts going the exact opposite direction at the same time should be all you need, because again, the RSP is going to be more weighted to industrials, financials, healthcare, and this is really weighted. If you take what is the SPY, the top 30% is the Mag 7. So right, the other thing you do is just MAGS. How's the Mag 7 doing? Well, very bad and hitting new lows.
Yeah.
And then you take something like the IWM, it's not really doing anything. It's just kind of right at the pre-market low. So, we're going to keep pounding the table because, again, I think you've got a week of this at the very least. I'll be glued to my set. I think it's Sunday when the new COT data comes out to see how much of this unwind has actually taken place. And that will tell us how long it goes. If the unwind has still not taken place,
ARKK is getting hit hard too. That was another area on the playbook to look for shorts. Look at that. Bomb, bomb, bomb. It's a short type of day. Open, really bad looking candle out the gates here now, starting to come back down. Another momentum name that could start to crash there. That was an ugly kind of candle. What did I talk about also? I know that this is a short interest name, but look at Zillow. This is why I'm so relationship focused, guys. I said Zillow needs to continue here and break through the high. The setup was for it to go to 90, and now it's getting hit hard. I think Zillow could start coming back there towards like 78. That's going to make the open trade a little bit tough. This is where I think the trade on, if you look at the chart on open, you're going to really like it. The market is starting to turn on that trade. That's the tough part. Because the trade itself still looks good. I'm with you that it looks good too, Michael, on the chart itself, if you just look at open. So you kind of have to hang on either on the open levels or understand that maybe the market is just not going to let me have this trade. And that happens sometimes, right? Where the market just fights you. And it's just tough when that happens, right? You're getting rotation against your trade, even though the setup was there for open to maybe make like a 5 run. So I think 3 will need to hold here. But it does look like it's pulling back at least for the day.
Yeah, and I'm in from somewhere in this range, so that's where I'm just going to defend against it. Rocket Lab robot picks them up. A lot of potential long mean reverting happening today. Again, I don't know if we're going to continue. I have no idea, but I know over 25 years of back tested data, if I keep doing this, that will be the thing. So just again, took all the stocks that were crammed or slammed the most and went to went a little bit further, and it's looking for those names that got absolutely creamed just to go a little bit further, and then to buy those, of course, ranked by overall relative strength. My target's working great, so first trade of the day is phenomenal here. I just need this to bring up where the 2-day view app is. 99.60. That's going to be the ultimate target. I'm very close to just taking part off the table here, just because really good to have a nice long on a day like today where, depending on where you are, you're getting killed. If you're in the average large cap stock, you're doing great. If you are in tech, we are almost down 1%. So very much a look down and see, if you are very weighted in your overall portfolio to certain names, it's a bad time.
Boom. QUBT now down 5% out the gates to $14 here, guys. That's a move from 15 to 14. I hope somebody was able to nail it and was looking for that out the gates. Hey, I hope you guys were able to nail that one.
Yeah, so continuing to push down on your growthy
TSLA.
names, continuing to push down here on the Qs. Yeah, so I mentioned shorting Tesla.
Yeah.
Good move there. Again, that's going to be part of that Qs that is getting hammered as opposed to right IWM. It's down a bit, but not nearly as much. And the Dow holding on really, really strong. So UNH might be one to. Ooh, that's interesting.
Yeah, the GEV, that nuclear short, and I was worried about the nuclear names. They are crashing today. GEV, CEG, they are just done. It just seems to me this is like the real correction mode now. And this is how it is on that nuclear trade. A lot of people were holding this thinking that this had another move. It's coming back down fast there. So just be careful out there. CEG was at 350. Now it's 310, down 12%. Real quick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you got to think about it. If the tech or if the AI names are going to get killed, this nuclear thing has just been another play on AI. So if names AI related are going to have a bad time, then the names that power them are going to get all baby out with the bathwater. This is one of those nobody is
Sound hound to add one in there. Throw that baby out.
It's they're all just going to get creamed until this unwind is done. And then what I think is, again, this is just pure speculation. If I'm right, and this is a giant unwind, there is going to be some generational buying opportunities in some of these names because they are going to be forced into the ground, not because the fundamentals have changed, just because these large companies have to sell them. And that's the best time to be buying. So I'm watching very closely on some names that I'm interested in potentially buying, and for the flippening or whatever it is that you want to call it, where when I look at the COT report and all of a sudden that NASDAQ long is now back to about even, that's where I'm going to just start looking at and say, okay, what names are out there that I could potentially, that I think are pushed down.
Coke rocketing, PG rocketing, guys. This looks Unilever rocketing, UL. There's so many names here.
And here's
Definitely.
So this is RSP, right? So your average large cap stock. And again, a great looking push up here on RSP, holding really strong. Had a great day yesterday. The bot is buying more garbage here with IONQ. Just picks them up there at 35.38. So again, this particular setup is a very simple mean reversion setup. It is right how you look for something that's very extended to the downside, and you're just looking to buy it and see if it closes a little bit above the price that you're in.
Walmart, Costco, names like that, just pushing, guys. Defensive as can be. The market is rotating hard right now to defensive names. That's why I like Lockheed Martin. Lockheed Martin was one that I was looking at the trade today. I didn't take the trade there, but it's looking good right now. It's starting to push there. It has a gap to fill, and I think that gap looks prime on the daily chart for Lockheed Martin. The daily chart has a gap up there towards around 458. Like a little bit higher than that, 460s. That seems prime to fill.
Yeah, and a nice, it's just been consolidating for about a week here. If you look at the 30-minute chart, and a nice breakout of that today. So lots of peace talk. So I wonder if that's going to be your buy the rumor, sell the news of what, short the war, buy the peace. Is that usually you buy World War III? Every time I hear World War III mentioned,
the war stops.
Excited.
That means money stops. They don't want the war to stop.
But it could be, right, buy the rumor, sell the news, and if the war stops, then I don't know, you rip it up. What is it? It's Halliburton that rebuilds after wars? Maybe. Was Halliburton even a
SPY getting hit hard now, guys. 635. VIX up to VXX up about 70 cents from the open. Apple heading down there. It is definitely another ugly, ugly, ugly day there, guys. We are seeing destruction underneath us. QUBT now down to 1370. So I'm at least glad I was on top of these. I'm still short RCAT. That's working well. But yeah, would I want to have some more shorts on? Yeah, this is the day where it's like the system should have been ready to short. Would have been short like 5 or 6 names, probably already cashing, right? Let's be honest. If I had multiple trades breaking supports, I'd be taking some profits out there.
Yes, the question is when and if does this sell or stop? And I think you just zoom out a bit, right? You remind yourself that we are down 1.5% from all-time highs. So definitely could be to go. One thing my buddy Brian Shannon pointed out was the anchored view app from, oh man, look at that. The anchored view app from this low. So the average price from your kind of August 1st low, where we had this last time that the bears got really happy and we had this little sell off, that's right here. So that's 365.27. And we're at 365.91 now. But the low of the day was almost right to the tick, like within a couple cents of this particular. If you have to zoom way in to see that there's a little bit of a gap there, so that's a interesting area to take a look at to see if that catches us as well. This is what you got to watch on the way down, is potentially, right, where is this going to go? Because it's not going to go down forever. We're still in a bull market. So in bull markets, you want to look for pullback. So I'm interested to see if this zone ends up holding. And then just pointing out that, again, the RSP, or average large cap stock, is still up on the day with the Qs down 1.5%. Massive divergence. Called it right off the open. We almost knew that this was going to happen, because this is what forced trading looks like, where they don't have a say in the matter. They have to sell the Qs, and in return, they have to buy something else because they were short IWM against it. So let's really watch. Let's pay close attention. Let's just call it 635 even. And zoom in here. Yeah, look at that. Right at that low. If we do a 15-minute, yeah, right there. So we need to keep a close eye there. Ethereum's still up. Now the question you always got to ask yourself is, it's kind of harder with is it up or down on the day when you're talking about crypto, because every exchange kind of marks it a little bit differently. So based off this, yes, it's up on the day. Just so you guys know, what I use for this is UCT, which is what a lot of exchanges now use, which is universal. It's nerd time. It's like a Linux thing. So yes, up on the day on Ethereum, flat on the day on Bitcoin, and up on the day on Solana. And then SPY so far is really digging in at that level. So that's the VWAP again from this major low. You can see it's right here. So it's about, if you're on the 5-minute charts, it's 635, 634.90 or 635. Let's see if we dig in here. We need a little bit more time. And remember, these Fed guys, when are these guys starting? Oh, not until 12 my time, so 11 Eastern. We have a Waller. Oh, and then we have minutes. I have no idea who Waller is, but
I got you, man. That's what you got me for, right? I didn't pay attention to all that.
Yeah. I was about to say,
Federal Governor Christopher Waller and Michelle Bowman are the ones that had dual descent. So those are the ones you want to hear from. So watch out for Waller saying that, hey, I'm on the camp. I want to cut. I want to cut. I want to cut. You're going to hear him say it 50 times.
He's the one applying for the job. Is that what I should take from
Both
that?
of them are. Both of them are. Michelle Bowman and Christopher Waller, they want to be the head.
So yeah, if they're whoever is loudest about wanting to cut. What did Trump say? He wanted 1%.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying look for the one that says cut the most amount of times. So now it's on watch the cut count on when they're talking.
Or like the loudest. If he's screaming it, if he's shaking his fists in the air, that will be the one that will get the job.
I don't know what Pal's seeing. We're clearly seeing that inflation's come down, and I'm ready to cut.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how it will go. But yeah, so far we're hiding out right at that that VWAP.
Oh
And
yeah.
obviously, again, not an exact point. It's working it as an exact point right now, but I just want to see a level. So within, say 50 cents here or there, I'll be interested. But definitely some buyers coming in. And the reason these VWAPs are so important, again, if you have not read Brian Shannon's what is it, Maximum Trading Gains with Anchored VWAP, definitely do it. It's a great book. I'm in it. Just a little pat on the back there, but he just talks about why these are important, and they're very algorithmic. People will use VWAP to just set robots to fill orders. Like if you were looking to buy a whole bunch of the S&P 500, you could just the trader who is trying to buy it will get rewarded on how close they get to this VWAP price. And if they're below the VWAP price, they're going to get more money if they're buying just in their own personal pockets as like a bonus. But if they're buying way above VWAP, they won't get a bonus and they might actually get fired. So these VWAPs end up becoming a very important level for people making money. So they become very, very important. And that's why you start to see them respected so well. Not all the time, nothing's perfect, but when you're talking about someone's pocketbook, it makes sense. So both my shitty buys are so far doing actually well. IONQ is bouncing a little bit. I'm in at 35.38, so I'm up a couple cents on that. And Rocket Lab just turned positive there as well on that name. And then my TGT is doing okay. I would like to see just a little bit of a break so I can sell a big chunk and then hold the rest till VWAP. But as someone who was long only today, I'm okay with any amount of green considering what we saw right off the open here.
Yeah, if we could really get a drive, maybe nail off the VWAP right now. It's already gone up towards the resistance and then kind of failed there, which was around the 85.44. You could say 85.50s if you just want to round it. That's where it went to. But now I'm looking to see if it pulls back to 83 and then comes back to 85. We'll see what happens on nail. Still taking it.
Nail.
Just looking at that one as a stock that we were looking at in the pre-market, it did do a nice little pop, but then came right back down. So looking at it here, the VXX could come back down below the 39s too. So look for potential bounces, and then we're going to really see what happens here. I don't think it's going to make it just easy on the downside. It made it easier out the gates here. So watch for a little bit of a bounce, and now we need to see how much of a bounce do we get, right?
I think I'm going to be with you on this this nail chart, not for a day trade, but I think for a swing. I really like this, and I just the performance of this sector yesterday was amazing.
Yeah, it really does tells us something, and I'm at the point where I might get rid of GDRX. It's kind of hanging in there on the 450s. Just wanted to put it out there.
Shout out Alex, read the VWAP book. It's great book.
I don't know why I'm not. But maybe it's because Brian doesn't answer me. I don't like Brian Shannon.
Oh,
maybe that's my fault.
I'll reach out and tell him.
No, I mean, I reached out to him like 50 times when I was at Benzinga, and the guy always wanted to act like it was too cool for Benzinga. So maybe he just has a sour taste in my mouth. But
he does get, again, I've known him for 10, 15 years now and drank with him a bunch. He's one of those, he will carry a grudge. he
has some type of grudge, I think, maybe towards Benzinga or something.
So somebody did something to him that he wasn't happy with, for sure.
Exactly that, right? Yeah. But does the guy have a great anchors VWAP? I mean, he's pretty much the VWAP guru. We can just call him the VWAP guru.
Yeah, he didn't invent, but yeah, he definitely popularized. And
I mean, I remember TC's had the anchored VWAP first.
Well, yeah, and if you hover it, I think it says like alpha trends.
Literally, it says alpha trends. It's the only indicator that has something that they make you like to add it in there. And I can show you guys that so we can give you guys the insight on that, so you guys can see it. Literally, when I hover over the anchor, it says anchored VWAP by Alpha Trends.
Yeah, and you guys know I'm not a big indicator guy, right? I'm not. I don't believe in a lot of them. I don't have many of them on my chart. But this one, as somebody who saw firsthand in the hedge fund space that they use these VWAPs to fill orders, it just makes perfect sense, right?
Yeah.
And it's
Where would you anchor for nail? Or are you doing more 1 day, 2 days, or are you trying to do it from the bottom of the chart? What are you looking at there?
Yeah, so for nail, and I can draw it here. I think the only interesting area, which is already well through, is through that all-time high at like 141, but it cracked through
Let me
that.
put you up here so we can see it.
Um, so yeah, this blue line, and you can
Yeah.
see how well it worked, right? And this is a very simple. I actually have an algorithm for swing trading that does just this. It looks for stocks that are under the anchored view app from all-time highs for a while, and then look, if you bought that breakout day right there at 73. The next day was great, and it just gives you a nice little. This line again, nothing's magic. It just tells you this is the average price of somebody who started to buy at the worst possible time, which is all-time highs, and they were underwater for a very long period of time, and now pretty much everyone's happy. Everyone's doing fantastic, and that's why. So if I look at the SPY, right, this is the average price of everybody who bought the last dip is sitting right about here. So that makes sense that could be an area that people try to defend because that's where their average price is after buying that last dip that happened at the beginning of the month, right? And then we went 2 weeks up in a straight line, and now we're right back to that average price. And you can see, at least for the last 15 minutes or so, we've just been flirting and bouncing around that zone. So I would like to see, generally, if you have an area of support or resistance, you have a push off of a level, then you want to see that happen a little faster than this. This is looking a little heavy to me, but yeah, this is great. So Ken Griffin, who runs Citadel, who has a huge amount of the volume that happens in the market, he told Congress under oath that they fill all of their orders with VWAP algorithms.
The true villain.
Right. So if the largest market participant on planet Earth is filling their orders with VWAP algorithms, makes sense. He didn't mention RSI. He didn't mention Bollinger Bands. He didn't mention the 20-period moving average. He said we use VWAP algos. So if he's going to use VWAP algos, I'm going to watch them because that's where they're filling orders, right? So they're the ones that are pushing all the orders through. So it's something you want to pay attention to.
Keeping a close eye on that Hertz, man. I think it's going to get going. So I'm just putting it on perspective out there, guys. THAR also mentioned out there.
Yeah, anytime Steph mentions anything, I bring it up because he's always trading just the craziest stuff. So again, if you're in chat and you are someone who trades these low flow crazy stuff, make sure you're paying attention to Steph in chat because again, just names every day, names I've never heard of and will never hear of again.
That's THAR, GLE, another one trying to break $1. That actually looks good for the $1 break. I've played $1 breaks before, but I just sell them into the $1, the first move. NCP, another name that's been strong today.
Yeah, we're pushing down under that VWAP now. So let's see if we get a little bit of a snapback or if that's a break entirely. Because from there, I don't really know, right? We've got this low at 329. That'd be a pretty huge down day. But other than that, we've got the low at 620. And so I don't know. It's one of those, if we're looking, the RSP has also been drugged down, barely. It's only down 0.05% on the day, where we have 1.5% down for the Qs. So we're still seeing that relative strength that we talked about. But if things start to sell enough, then everything starts to consolidate and starts to end up pushing down. And then for me to get anywhere bullish on the market, I want to see this VWAP hold and then us get through today's VWAP. And we are a long percentage of that. We're a long way away to get back to that VWAP. It'd have to bounce nearly 0.5% here. Hertz, eh? Oh yeah.
I'll take a little bit here, guys. So of course I have a day trade position on an RCAT, just hanging out in that one, but taking the shots there. GDRX continuing to work on the downside. So that's telling me that I could go ahead and take another shot here. As long as I'm going to continue making money, there's nothing wrong with maybe taking a little risk here. So I'm going long, different type of trade, right? Not just trying to jump on all the shorts on the swing side. I'm actually go for a long off this dip down and undercutting the support 550 and then now looking for a rip back through 6. So it would have to go through 6 to really get me confident, and then back like 625, 650s tell me that I timed it right here. We'll see what happens. Going to keep it tight. So it really shouldn't be like kind of even breaking, let's say like 550s. So I'm looking to see 550s hold here. and for it to drive back through 575.
Well, and again, I love that too because relative strength, right? So
Yeah. Just
if you
trying to
want,
find one.
yeah, if you want your definition of relative strength is not only Hertz up on the day on a red tape, but it's actually moving higher at the exact same time that the SPY is moving lower. So that is relative strength from both sides of those, showing that there may have been some news or something that, right, we talked about earlier, that people might actually be respecting that news. People
Yeah.
might actually be buying into that news. Otherwise, you would think that this is going to get pulled down and drifted down with the rest of the market. So, no, I like that. I'm actually bringing up as I'm talking my personal account, and I'm just going to pick up a little bit there. I think I'm just going to risk. I don't know about you. I'm thinking even
Maybe
$5.
even, yeah, maybe even just give it a little room, right? This is one that has a catalyst. So if you're gonna trade something to the upside today, I think it has to have a catalyst. That's just the way I
Yeah,
feel. You
no,
want
it makes
something
sense.
that has some news support, right? And if it doesn't, if it's just in what I call lull right now with the market dropping the way it is, not maybe the place to play, right? You're looking for names that are hanging in trend. Upside right now, this tells me a lot, guys, a lot. So I have 53 names in the stocks that are hot watch list on the top right. There's 3 names green from the open. Now 4. We'll give it 4. But even 2 of those names are red overall still. Yeah, they're green from the open, but there's only 2 that are green overall and green from the open. And they're MSOS and CF. So they're not even plays that are normal plays there, right?
Mhm.
So that tells me more and more. Momentum is broken. Momentum names. These were all those high flyers: UMAC, Hood, QUBT, Lemonade, QBTS, Rigetti, APLD, Tempest, SoFi, IonQ, Alster, Bull, Palantir, MSTR, Coin, ETU, Mara, Tesla, ARM, NNE, FLNC, AUR. The momentum has broken, guys. That's why I'm following through here, is to show you guys how this breaks. And then if you don't get out, you don't take your money, the market's going to take it for you, man. So it'll come back and say, here you go. You didn't want to get out. Well, guess what? I can bring the market back. There's going to be buyers at some point, and you might be the one selling into them.
And conversely, if you do take your money, you may have, again, I think these are one of those shopping list times where
Oh,
you may
yeah.
have like some wicked
Shopping list.
buys that come through on some of those names in a week or so. Again, whenever this position unwinds, you're going to have stocks that were just pushed down way below what they should have been
Mm-hmm.
just because somebody was forced to sell them. And if you're forced to sell them, you're not getting a good price. Right? You're just selling them at market. So I have got stopped out of a whole bunch of positions yesterday and today. And I've been raising a lot of cash in my discretionary account, in which I'm very much focused on what am I going to buy and where. That's kind of all I'm spending my evenings doing. Because when that hits, you're not, it's not going to give you a lot of time too. And the
No.
news is going to look awful at the time, right? It's going to look just like it's horrible out there. And they're going to get all these stocks bouncing, and you're not going to have anyone know why these stocks are bouncing. And I'll be in for it for sure.
You know, it's one name I was thinking about shorting. It's starting to reverse, is Celsius. I think this is setting up for a really good short if we're really going to break growth stocks, because people view Celsius, and some people might be like, oh, it's a beverage, a soft drink. This is a value name. No, by any means necessary. This is not a value name. And I think this could come crashing back down. Value name is more like Monster, right? And so Monster's holding well. But even though like Coke, Monster, those are going to hold better. Pepsi, those are
Not
going to
that
hold
one.
better than Celsius here. I think
Let's see.
Celsius is setting some traders up for failure here. 3 highs all around the 62. So that kind of be the area where you kind of have to risk up to. If you risk above 62, you're risking away from the price action. So it could give that reversal action back to the 9 EMA. That's 57. So you get what I mean? There's some good risk to return here. That's just the way I'm seeing it.
Yeah, you brought up that monster.
Let's go.
That's a nice looking chart.
Let's bring in my man Josh. I think Josh is in the back, ready to rock and roll. Let's go ahead. Let's bring the man in himself. So, hey, You guys out there, give me a nice little celebration. Air horn. Josh, what's going on, man? How we doing? A little. Rub the genie. Can I rub the genie? Can I rub the genie there? And you
We
guys
are out. We are live. How you guys doing? Do you have a good morning so far?
Hey, taking shots,
Far,
right?
so good.
2,000 shares short of our cat there. So not no small means out there, taking a shot out there. And I'm seeing drops, right? QUBT, quantum names really dropping. It seems like momentum has broken. What are you seeing out there, Josh? What are you trading maybe? And feel free to have your charts up. We can also go to your screen.
Yes, let me do this. I should just always have that ready, right? Let's just have my dang screen ready.
You know.
Oh,
Hint,
boom.
hint. Somebody tell Josh.
He knows how to work this, right? He knows what he's doing. All right, let's get it going here. Screen 3 is the best one. Let's get it. It's my live stream feed right here.
Let's go. Couldn't bring you up here. Let's take a look into what's going on there. I got Michael Noss, not that one. This one here. Let's go.
There we go. We're working. So we are looking for red today, right? We're looking for shorts across the board. My alert for, and my big baby was Meta for the day. Absolutely couldn't wait to trade this. And why? I always go to the 15-day, 15-minute time frame when I'm breaking down large cap plays. The first thing I saw was this staircasing pattern on down, right? We talked about this last week, I think, if you do remember, right?
Mm-hmm.
So finding these areas when it comes to large cap plays that they haven't been in for a while or maybe ever that has built charting, correct? So if there's no charting there, you might get a good free for all. So I come down and I see this low after the earnings come out. And of course, you go back further in time, and I don't really have to. I'll just let you know. You could take my word for it, our word for it here. You trust us, right? That's why you're watching today. There's no charting back here. It's open territory, baby. It's wide open. So when it's wide open like that, I am just salivating in the morning when I come over here and I'm going, wow, if we crack below these lows, and that low I just showed you, which was right around 744, 745, that was actually high. It was around 745. This is almost a no-brainer for me to look for a short today. And as soon as we start cracking this low in pre-market, which now is kind of the new low that we have, or say after, I was actually after hours, I'm looking to jump in to get in this trade for the short. And I jumped in on that trade right as we start cracking down at the opening bell. I actually, and you can ask my live stream, if they're over here, maybe they'll talk about it. And they're like, Josh is probably up 10K now. I left about, 30 minutes ago now. I left my live stream. I was still in 5 contracts and said, I'm going to keep my 5 contracts. I'm going to go get showered, prettied up for the live stream for TTP. I'll be back. And then, of course, I come back knowing that this is just because there's open territory. It's not going to reverse. 9 times out of 10, when I trade these type of large cap plays, when they're in open territory, as I call it, they love to gravitate and soak their way back down to the last breakout area. So it's probably going to continue to go down, as you can see for the day. We know the SPY's down. Other tickers are down as well. So that does help out when you kind of get that bleeding across the board, that red. So you get that. I go take a shower. I come back, and I'm woo-hooing and freaking out, going like, I told you so. I knew it. So this is my baby for the day. Essentially, it was one trade that I averaged into a little bit more. I averaged into a winner. Came back, it dumped down $2,000+ trade for me for the day. And now I sit back and I'm done and I relax and I don't take another trade the rest of the day.
That's not very degen of you. Come on.
What?
The market's moving.
What?
Just YOLO into something. Just get in here. Look, buy some Fartcoin or something.
Trading. What happened?
Come on.
All right.
Making your money and leaving? What's going on?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
No,
And that's me at the casino too. If I get in the casino, if I'm up in the first 30 minutes, me and my wife are like, see ya. Thanks for the free money.
Going to the bar.
Yeah, right.
I'll give it all back to you there.
I'll give it all back. I can just sit here and drink for free, but I'll go up there and look cool and get some real expensive drinks.
Oh, you know it. That's why you make some money and then you just start throwing out the minimum.
Right. Yeah, right. And I want to show you SPY too, kind of show you this, but I talked about this yesterday, and I go back that 15-day, 15-minute time frame, and it's the same thing. So I see the support shelf, and I literally put this in my chat and Discord and everything yesterday. I said, hey, if and when 642 cracks, it's on high watch for a great short. It is going to tumble, and you'll see a red day. I didn't even look at it yesterday for whatever reason, really. And I come back this morning, and I'm like, there you go. So again, you put a line in as I just put my crosshairs in at 642. And I've got a pretty much gap fill down to this area. We'll look where we soak right down to, like I talked about, right? Love these sharps. Absolutely love these sharps.
To.
Yeah, got to.
I don't know too much about Thinker But I like the charts, Josh. I like the charts outlook.
Yeah.
I'm just not a
There's
big a thinker. So
You're good.
I
You're good. No, I've been here since I remember when I first started trading in 2017 or so. It was I forgot who owned it before they sold it to TD
Schwab,
Ameritrade.
yeah.
Yeah, and
well,
I
it
was
was
like
its own broker
entity.
before that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And they're like,
Sosnoff from
yep, yeah,
Tasty Trade built it. Yeah.
yep. And they was like,
Years ago.
And then they said tasty trades it is. Let's go.
yeah,
let's do
yeah,
the
that
next
was
one.
it. And everyone was talking about it. Trade, or think or swim, think or swim. And I didn't like the name, but man, I came over here from E-Trade and absolutely fell in love with the
Oh
charting
yeah.
and just haven't left charting here. I chart here every single day. To me, you've got to have that
Yeah.
broker that you may trade through, TTP, right? But then you got to have a super duper chart that you fell in love with, that you trust, that you don't even blink. You just see
That's
it. You
what it's
trade.
about.
Yeah, you got to fall.
Yeah. I think that's what it's always about. And at the end of the day, at least Thinkorswim, at least it was free. Is it still free?
Is free. Now, again, if you want live trading, I think you have to have. I've heard $500 in there.
Yeah.
I've heard mixed things on that. Like, no, I have it at no money. So
Yeah, as a Canadian, I use their charts for years. You go way back on my YouTube channel, you use it, and I just had $1,000 in there. And I just left it in there because you didn't have to pay monthly for anything.
Yeah.
So I had $1,000 in there, and I think I had it in some income bearing whatever, so it'd make like a couple bucks a year. And yeah, eventually they said they emailed me and they're like, bro, you haven't placed a trade with us in like 6 years, get the hell out of here. So they took the charts from me. I'm like, man, it was nice, free. I didn't have to pay a dime for it. It was real time.
I was
They're
enjoying
nice
that. You
charts.
should have told them. I was enjoying that.
They're Mac friendly. It's a great platform. But the problem is, like with a lot of them, is when commissions went to zero. I heard from some people that worked there. I was at a conference one. They fired like all the devs for it, and they just said,
Wow.
we're not even going to update this thing anymore. We're just going to let it. There's like one guy working to keep the whole thing together, because when commissions went to zero, these companies stopped making money on active traders. They make money now through interest rate spreads, right? Where it's like they were, and yeah, so they've got this awesome system that eventually, it might take another 20 years from now, is just going to kind of bleed its way down to zero. Now I hope that one dev they've got working on it has got a bunch of AI around him. Maybe he's going to be supercharged. But yeah, great platform if you guys are looking for free charting. A bit of a pig, so you need a decent rig to go crazy with it. I found it eats a lot of RAM. But it's I loved it. I thought it was great. Good scanning. You can build your own indicators. You can do all kinds of cool stuff with it.
Yep. From the trade tab, and of course you got the all products for the options, and there's the
Options
education
chains
part of it. Yeah, there's a
So
lot.
there's some good features. My thing is I just hate when it freaking shuts down on you or lags, because I feel like that's my problem with it. But that's back when I used to trade like fast and heavy, and then so like I was trading like these penny stock high flyers, and I wouldn't get price for like 2 or 3 seconds. And I don't know about you, but not getting price for 2 or 3 seconds is a little bit of scary there.
Yeah, I'd say when it like literally Michael's all over it, because a lot of people said that at first. It was like it's slaggy. I'm like, this dude's a big guy. You're gonna need some RAM on that computer. It's gonna be a lot laggy. It's gonna be laggy on you. And then
it's free. It's free. Don't forget that, guys. And my thing is, anything that's free is not going to be as fast as things that are probably paid.
Yes. Oh yeah, for sure. Like
Right.
you go to a paid broker that you have to be over the PDT essentially, and you have to have 25, 30K. Yeah, you would imagine you're gonna have super fast fills and exits, and the charting is extremely quick. But that's why you're paying them monthly. Like we talked about last week, you're paying rent to them. If you're looking for something free, and like you talked about, like you guys were saying, it's got a lot of studies, it's got a lot of good features,
Yeah.
and it's got even on demand, which is cool. It's gotten laggier in the hell good. Now that this all makes sense, they haven't updated it. On demand and their paper trading, they even have paper trading. It used to be perfect, fast, quick. But this is a cool feature too, just in case you need to get extra reps. It's the weekend, it's at night. You just click this on demand button, and you can go back to whatever day you want. I think you got to go back to minimum of like 3 days ago, but you can go back to 2023, earlier this year, 2024, and practice trading. Now, again, of course, if you're a small cap trader, you might want to, you don't know what's moving that day. So it's really good for large caps, really more so when you go to on demand. But it's still, again, like we talked about, still yet another feature that they do have so that you can get reps in and you can practice what you're trying to do. And again, talking about being for free, when I first started, That's what it's all about, baby. You need something that doesn't cost a lot of money and that you can work and operate through. But that'd be the only caveat would be, it's a big dude. So you're going to want a computer with a lot of RAM for sure.
All right, guys, taking a look into the market here, seeing a little bounce, seeing if this can actually hold or not. We'll see what happens if we do get a little bounce or not. I'm looking at the SPY right now. I did cut out of the RCAT just because it's at the third resistance. Just didn't flush down there. Definitely went with the wrong play today. QUBT on the playbook. Should have just been following the playbook, as that was a 1450 outlook to 14. That would have been a really nice 50 cents to grab. But I'm looking for stocks to come back and make that third resistance try or another touch on VWAP. And that's what I'm seeing around a lot of stocks. So watch for that type of play, right? Second times to VWAP. Second time the VWAP is not as scary, but it creates the third resistance. Third resistance can sometimes create a small pullback and then a rip higher. So now you're starting to get levels where you know that there's where the resistance is clearly drawn out and supports are clearly drawn out. Like this QUBT, let's say. So it did undercut for a second. It came back to VWAP, came right back to the support. Now it's working its way back to VWAP. We'll see if it gets there and starts to hit that. We'll see if HTZ can really get going. I still got a piece of that on the swing side of things. I'm looking to see if it can finally make a run to $6 or not. But definitely starting to see a little bit of some bounce there. If I look at the 15 minutes, the last 15 minutes, right, technology starting to bounce back, right? Financial services bouncing back. Industrials and basic material. What's red in the last 15 minutes? Real estate, communication, and healthcare. The area that was really strong, starting to pull back, the defensive name. Look to see what happens there. Will we start to see a little bit of a shift in the intraday action? It could happen. Now we'll see what happens.
Well, and look at where, right? So grab this. There's that blue line right here. That's the VWAP that we were talking about from that prior sell-off low, the last dip. Bled through it a bit. We keep bouncing at it. We keep flirting. Again, I'm not gonna consider this a bounce from this level until we're through and kind of do a close through VWAP. But it kind of feels like, at least for now, a lot of the selling is slowing anyway. If you look at the Qs, putting in a little bit of a bounce, IWM putting in a bounce, the Dow, which hasn't even broken yesterday's low, so some great relative strength there for the average stock. So we're specifically focusing on large cap tech that's getting a bit creamed. Some kind of chilling out is happening, and we got to remember that we do have minutes, right? It's not a big FOMC event, but we do have minutes coming up a little bit later. We got a bunch of Fed jerks talking. So like we talk about every time, as it gets to this part of the day, when you have a Fed thing happening, sometimes you get a little bit of a slowdown, you get some choppy action. So it might be that the low is in, but the low, we don't really even bounce from here. We could just chop around until after 2, when the minutes come out, and then the market makes whatever move it wants to make after that. So just pay attention to when there's a big event. You don't want to go too crazy later in the day. So if you got some sell on that thrust, that's great. Again, my system bought 3 positions, and I can just update those quickly. But Target still doing well. I wish it was doing better, but it's holding anyway, which I'll take. Did sell a little bit when it just popped through there to about 77 or 97.50. Really trying to get that 2-day VWAP, which is now under 99. So that's my order. Yeah, I've got an order out for the rest for around 98.50. So to undercut that VWAP. And then what was it? Rocket Lab. RKLB, it bought some. It's about flat on that position. Bought at 39.14. It's at 38.80. Again, these are tiny positions because they're volatility weighted. So the crazier the name is, the less I buy, and the more slow the name is, the more I buy. And IONQ about flat as well, in from 35.38, and that's at 35.40. So you can see both those things are just about even. So the only thing that's really green on my screen here for me is Target, and I'm just waiting for the bot to do more things. I'm very much sitting on my hands, letting robots work here.
Gotta let them work. Gotta let them work.
Intel news. I just saw
Intel
Trump report.
announced anything?
Intel reportedly in talks for an equity infusion at a discounted price.
Yeah, I know why. Because they need to do a big write-off. This is one of the things I talked about on Trader TV this week. They need to do a big write-off. They were already talking about this before they started to get this injection of money. So I think this injection of money is going to give them even more ability to go ahead and do that, right? So I'm looking to see what happens with that end. But this was already a given. This is why you got to know the small details in reports, guys. So yeah, this brings a positive outlook to Intel. It's going to maybe go up, but when it does that write-off, expect the hit, right? That's the hard one.
Well, and this is a perfect example. Someone asked yesterday and said, "Hey, are you buying Intel here?" And I said, "I want to close above 26, right? Because we keep hitting this zone and reversing from it. So no, I didn't buy any yet because we're not closing above 26." And this is the one thing I'll say for a lot of swing trading. If you're doing the kind of swing trading that Mitch does, where you're basically just using longer term day trades and trying to hold for 2-3 days, that's one thing. But the way I look at it, for me, a swing trade is a week to maybe 2-3 weeks. Those closing prices, you're okay waiting for those. And I know a lot of people out there that are swing traders that don't even open their screens until maybe an hour into the close, and they're just putting in their orders and they're putting in their trades there. So yeah, the closing price is the most important price. So until we can get a close above that 26 area, I'm not going to touch it. Again, bar if we got like a tight base or something in here, maybe, but this is why I have this base kind of drawn in, and I'm just, give me a clean break out of this base, and I'm interested. Until then, dead money. Dead money to me is worse than losing money, because if I take a trade and I take a loss, oh well, half my trades for the rest of my life will be losses. But if I buy something and it just does that, like what Intel's doing for like a month or a year, I hate it, because it's my money should be working for me. And if I'm using my buying power in something that's not doing anything, to me, that's worse, because it's not even getting my capital back after taking a small hit and redeploying it somewhere else. It's just chilling. Nothing's happening.
Yeah, I
All
talk
right.
about that a lot. I love that
What you got,
confirmation.
Josh?
So I love it. The confirmation above areas. I mean, I talk about that even for day trades. That I
Oh,
I
for
call
sure.
candlestick confirmation, but absolutely gorgeous to talk about there, Michael, and just finding that channel, and just I reiterate this stuff all the time. So that's same thing. I'm looking for the same thing. Kind of like what I was talking about earlier. So just reiterating, it's a good thing that what you're waiting for is patience. And I'm right there with you. The other ones I hate a lot is, which don't happen anymore, but I talk about, and I just was going over that yesterday with traders, was losing trade's a losing trade, right? You're just going to go over that. It's a losing trade. I
Yeah.
hate this, or I hate trades where you're green, but you don't take profit. Very, very rarely happens anymore to myself, because of it happened in the past. But you're green, don't take profit in an area you should, because you get a little greedy. Okay, I'm green. Let's go to the next one, and you don't take profit. Comes back, you lose the trade. Those are the ones I'm like, I feel like I'm watching my Broncos. My Broncos are up 10 with 3 minutes to go, and somehow we lose the game. And I'm like, we were up 10. How'd you lose? You were green. You could have won. You said, how did you lose? And then I feel like that. I'm like, we were up. How did you have to become a red trade? You're up 10 with 3 to go. How did we lose the game? Though I hate those
This
trades.
is the expectation of getting more, right?
Right.
It can
Yeah.
really cost you in the long run. This is why I was talking about long term or swing, but more like on a good question, especially is, well, what's your maximum upside outlook? If you don't have one, I think that's a negative thing. There needs to be some type of maximum outlook where if it gets there, you are more than satisfied and you're taking that money and running, right? Like, and sometimes for me, like, let's say it can depend on your risk to return. Let's say if you're a 3-to-1 trader, if I get 5-to-1 outlook, why the hell am I not taking some money?
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm doing myself a disservice of getting way away from my normal risk to return and still not taking profits. This is the number one thing I think I see out there that especially can bring consistency to swing traders and day traders alike, right?
Yeah.
Because you're getting your two reward. You hear some people say, "Oh, I got 1.5 R or 2 R,"
Yeah.
right? And if you're getting that type of return, you take it, because 2 R, it means probably on the next 6 trades you can lose and you'll still be break even, something like that, right? And so these are the types of things that really separate the ones that are thinking in quarter performance and yearly performance than the ones that are so focused on daily performance.
Like you talked about greed, however you want to word it, but yeah, it's just that expectation of wanting more. I guess it kind of becomes the world we live in too. Like
It happens especially in the penny stocks, right? When you're seeing those percentages ride up. I know you've seen that plenty of times, Josh, in your chats and different things like that.
Yeah, big time for sure. And you just got, like you were talking about, you've got to be satisfied with that return that you're getting. And I always, talk about it. If you think about it, if I'm walking down the street, we're walking down the street wherever we're at, and all of a sudden I'm like, "Hey, Michael, Mitch, here's $100. I give you both $100 apiece." Are you going to look up and say, "Where's 200? Hold on, no, I want 200 now. You gave me no." You're going to be like, "That dude just gave us $100 apiece. Oh my god!" Right? Did you wake up with the $100 extra? No, you didn't wake up with $100. That's $100 extra that you didn't have, that you just pressed some buttons essentially in the end and made whatever that target was. I'm just going hypothetical 100, right? You wouldn't go, "Oh, I need 200 now. Thanks for the $100 bill, guy. Give me another one." No, you would go, "Wow, we just got 100." You got to think of it that way. And I had to train my brain that way, because at first we get that programmed. I'm at work. I need X amount of money. Now I want more money. It's my money. I need it now. And I'm like, no, listen, find a target, be happy with the target, and move it. Kind of like we talk about, which you guys were giving me a hard time jokingly about Meta. I found the area. I found my target. Here's the price. I'm out. I'm happy for the day. Again, back and working with traders, there's a trader that's green. Then they say, "Oh, I'm green. I'm good for the day." Yeah, I know what I'm doing. I got that confidence now. And what do? They're up 400. They're up 500 to start the day. The next thing they know, they overtrade, give back gains, and they're down in the end of the day, down 400 or 500. I'm like, you had a goal of the day, you hit it, and now you get that confidence and that swagger or whatever builds, and then gets them every time.
Oh man, if I could have all the money back that I lost or I've given back from, trading, especially, well, let's just say off book or rogue trades, when you're feeling too big, like you're, what doesn't stink.
Right.
I wouldn't be here. I'd be retired. So, it's 100%. And, whether that's a solid number or something. Now, again, it's different for me as a bot trader. The bot does what the bot does. But,
right.
You pick a number, or what a lot of people do, and this is, I think, harder mentally, but probably better overall. We had at one of the prop firms I traded when I was in university, they just called it loss from top. So it just took whatever the high watermark of your equity curve was at any given time throughout the day, and if it dipped down a little bit, it just stopped you out for the day. So if you were up, say it was 25%, so if you were up $1,000 for the day, and then if you gave back 250, it would shut you down for the day, so you'd walk away with 750. And that kind of thing I think makes sense. And I know a lot of traders who actually chart their equity curve with like a moving average with it, and if their equity curve dips under the moving average, they're done. They stop trading for the day and they walk away. And yeah, something like that, just to say, okay, I was on fire. I was reading the market right. The trade ideas I had were great. Now they're shit. It's time to go, regroup, come back tomorrow, and you'll never exit out on a high if you're doing it that way. But it allows that if you've got the hot hand, everything's going well, you keep going with it as long as you can.
Yeah. My dad used to sing the song enough, and luckily it's stuck in my head to this day, and it goes great with this. You got to know when to hold them. Know when to fold them.
Well, listen, you're gonna get us copyrighted with that. That's too close to the right. The AI is gonna think that was the original.
Yeah. my beautiful voice. But yeah, no, exactly. But that's it. That's definitely it. And if you get that in your head, you'll then understand, and you'll be doing this a lot longer if you can.
All right, well, SPY getting smaller and smaller on the 15-minute candles. So I think at this point, you got to really hone in on that 634 mark there. You got a slight undercut underneath it, 633.59 on the 15. So watch to see that 634 start to act as a base area. Now, of course, these are just attempts to bounce. We got to be careful, right? They're just attempts. That doesn't mean that it's going to turn there. But have we seen the candles get smaller? Yes, right? So...
Well, and this is, again, this blue line right here. This is the anchor. I can zoom out. This is the anchored view app from this low. So if we are going to bounce anywhere today, this is a logical place to do it. We ranted already to you guys, won't do it again, about how important and how so many hedge funds and institutions fill orders off these anchored view apps. Again, so much that they had to testify in front of Congress under oath that this is the way that they enter and exit trades. So we got to get back above that. But this zone, obviously not an exact level. The fact that we get under this and we start to see buying makes perfect sense because, like I mentioned, there's a lot of traders that are filling orders, and they're going to make more money if they can get an average price under this VWAP. So when we get under it, we start to see buying, at least enough that we're not going down anymore. But like Mitch said, so far, this is just really a bear flag. Until we can start to retake this VWAP and maybe even today's VWAP, for me, that would be the thing that I would need to be bullish. My target's continuing to go, so I'm just sitting in that, having a good time there. Rocket Lab and IONQ are down a little bit. But again, these positions are tiny, like literally tiny. I've got 25 shares of each. Like they're tiny positions because how the bot works is it looks at this prior day's candle and it position sizes based off of that. So it assumes that this, right, I'm risking 10% on the position. And then it's, what's that extended to today. So it's trading so small that those are almost insignificant. Whereas this target position makes up the brunt of everything that I'm doing here today. It's like 97% of my profit is just coming from this target. And now those Rocket Lab, maybe they bounce significantly later, but right now they're like, I'm not even looking at them. But so far so good. I'll take this. A nice slow grind, really hasn't given me anything to worry about. I've got my stop right up here at below that, because that's kind of where I look at that and say, well, that's probably enough. And maybe it will reverse below these 15-minute so base, and then again targeting 98.50, right? So just a little bit, another dollar or so in this area, just to try to undercut what that anchored VWAP is right there.
All right, guys, riding this breakdown in RCAT here, guys. I'm going to go ahead and set a stop in the green now, but looking for this to really start to break down further, guys. I'm up about 350 on this. Let's see if this can really start to drop here. It's a tough trade, right? Because it's a slower one. It hasn't really dropped as fast as, let's say, like a UMAC. I've been watching UMAC trade with this one. They trade side by side. This one, I'd say right now, probably the better trade. It's dropped about 9% versus like an RCAT. It's a little bit slower stair stepping, right? You got about 6% on this move from that pop, but you see how the charts are very similar? It's just pop and drop, right? At the gates, the trap out the gates through a number and then bring it right back down. Trap out the gates, right back down. So looking to see if the leak can continue. But at this point with the SPY the way it is, I think we're either going to get a ramp up down or move back to VWAP. And I'm just at this point, I need to start really making sure that I'm at least going to get money on this trade, right? So at this point, I got money no matter what. If it just drops, if the SPY just tanks from this 634, I'm going to be mad. That's just going to increase the money. And then I can just kind of trail it. If it gets to 8, we're talking $1,000 trade. So let's go for it.
By the way, for small cap trades, I don't like the movement of it that well. I'm not going to trade it, but THAR is one for any small cap trader if you're looking for some momentum. It's your winner for the day. THAR just squeezed the new high. Thar. It's Thor's brother. His name is Thar. So you got to watch
exactly it. This GLE broke $1. That was the one that did break that dollar, but it's just a real penny stock.
Right. Oh, yeah. True. Exactly. A true penny stock. This is kind of like, yes, true. This is more of a small cap play, I guess, really, right? But nice, good uptrend channel. You just see the uptrend channel that we're overall working in. I don't really trade a true big trend like that. Again, usually I find a good consolidation area that's not so extended to the top side as this one is. I talked about this recently. I think even going live with you guys, one of the times I've been live, but how many tiers above the VWAP are you? So we're 1 level, 2 levels, and now we're working on that 3rd level above the VWAP. You're shorting the top if you're going to short anything. We did this last week. I know Kevin was on. I'm not a big fan of shorting the top. You got to be precise. And of course, we know about these volatile small cap plays or penny stock plays. And just like this, you think you're good on a short. Next thing you know, you're down 40, 50 cents, depending on where it squeezes up to. So this is a great uptrend channel play. To me, the best demand zone's right back down below the VWAP, but it looks like that's going to start moving up now. Why? Because this play's overextending, and it's going to come to this little what I call a sandwich area, old resistance becoming new support here, and that seems to be most likely the new demand zone. call it risky biscuit, snakeskin, randy traders. I call it really risky, wild, wild west trading. This is going to try to hold up right now. So if you're risky biscuits, those newer traders, this is where they're going to try to come in and take this top and squeeze, but they're most likely going to get pancaked on. It's going to come flying back on down. I do expect this uptrend channel, this trend line, so to speak, to crack at some point. It's not going to hold all day. It's had a nice, good hour-long overall uptrend. I would imagine seeing some sort of consolidation. I think you guys were talking about the SPY possibly doing that, although we're still kind of coming down. Meta's definitely doing some consolidation right now, as you can see right here. But I would definitely look for this at some point in the next hour. I call it pre-lunch. So when we get to about 11 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central, I know it's still early in the 9 a.m. and then 8 a.m. on the West Coast, but people that have been up, especially on the West Coast, imagine being up for the opening bell at, you're up at 4:30, whatever for pre-market trading. You're 4 or 5 out. You're a while into the market now, right? So their eyes are starting to get red. I call it pre-lunch. So what you typically get is this kind of standoff consolidation, and then you'd be watching for a late lunch to, of course, as we call it, power hour pop. So watch for this at some point in time soon to consolidate. And I talked about this actually earlier on my live stream. How many stocks? We were just looking at one last week. What was the play that Kevin was trying to short in the same area last Wednesday or Thursday? Remember that there was a play in the $2 area that we were looking at. And we're in this trend now where we're seeing a lot of plays right around $1 spike up to this $2 to $3 range and fail and not get past it. And so what do we do? Like last week, go to the 1 year, 1 day, try to find some charting in here. And you can see anywhere from 2 into this $3 mark, there's a lot of charting, which is going to make it really hard to pop up. Now, if we get over 3 here, kind of like you guys were looking at earlier. Michael, what was that consolidation play that you were looking at?
Oh, God.
Oh, God.
the amount of charts we look at a day.
I know. And I get asked that all the time, too. People are like, what's that? I'm like, oh, shit. I was like, I don't remember. What did I talk about? I looked at
Ding dong.
Yeah. I would love to have a counter on like TradingView just to say you have flipped through X amount of charts today. I bet you it's every day it's hundreds.
Yeah. But I know you're talking about an area with breaking out of, and you're talking about candlestick confirming out of that area. So once
Intel.
Intel.
We're talking about. Yeah.
So Intel.
Intel. There you go.
So once you get over this 270 and especially 3, now you can see you've got some room to run, and that's where this play could really explode, is over $260 to $3 area. And then we'll just pull that back up because I know Michael, of course, back to Intel here. And then I think
big watch. SPY is trying to do that drop here. I'm just pulling it out there. Candles are getting tighter and tighter. I think there's going to be a ramp up period soon. So as traders, what are we looking at here? Is this the profit enough for you? Right? I think that you need to be thinking about it. We'll see what happens. Candles are getting smaller and smaller on the 15 on the SPY. That tells us what? A slowdown, but ramp could be right around the corner.
Yep. I'm glad. So it seems like as well, of course, I'm new to meeting you guys. Do you guys, I guess it seems like use a 15-minute time frame quite a bit as well, eh?
When I want to look at levels, that's where I would go to. A lot of hourly or 15s, right? I don't mind trading momentum on a 1 minute because you're riding momentum, right? And like you're just trying to stay with the hot right. or the weakness, right? You're essentially looking for, like Michael says all the time, relative strength or relative weakness, and you're just riding that. That I have no problem with using shorter time frames because that's what you're trying to do, right? You're right. Not trying to wait for a longer move. But really, I think the bread and butter is using bigger charts, 15 hourly and daily charts especially, to try to catch real trend type of moves where you can make a bigger reward, right? That's more of your swing outlook compared to your day trade outlook. But can you use the bigger time frames? I think that you always got to be looking at bigger time frames, especially when you're looking at like the overall market or anything outside of, let's say, small caps. You're moving more into the mid caps, because the truth is we get ranges, right? And if we don't see those ranges because we're stuck in the 1 minute, that's an easy way to be like, oh, no, but it's right here. And you don't realize this is the second resistance touch, and it could make a third attempt back to support. That's why I always look at the bouncing of the resistance and support, kind of playing that in. Then you'll see that on the 15-minute, and then you can at least attack support or resistance versus what I always say, you become a pig in the middle, the pigs get slaughtered. How do you become a pig? you're using the 1 minute and you're not catching the resistance or the support. You're just really not seeing it.
Just like to hammer that nail in for any traders, that I've been talking about through the years. And the more like I say it, you're saying it, Mitch, Michael. The reason why we bring this stuff up over and over and over is because of how beneficial it is and will help you in your trading. I talked about this even yesterday, how many traders get stuck, like you talked about, in that 1 minute time frame. Like you have got to get out and see the bigger picture, like a magnifying glass back in 7th, 8th grade, where it had like the 3 different lenses where you 20 times or 50 times magnification or 100 times, whatever it was. That so you could see what was on that slide. You could get a little more detail, less detail, whatever you needed, but you need to be going through the different time frames. You got to.
And like I told Kevin yesterday, align them, right? 15 and the 1. But go ahead, Michael.
Well, I look at it as, do you want to compete with Citadel, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley? If you're on the 1 minute chart, that's your opponents,
that's your competition.
Right? Like I would rather not fight those. I remember when HFTs came out, what I saw with all of my trader buddies was a zoom out. They said, okay, if these guys are going to play their games, right? Citadel's in and out in a penny or a half a penny or 2 pennies, right? They're playing these games on these micro time frames. And I just don't want to play your game. So I just won't. I'll play on longer term time frames. I'll play on even intraday. I'll look at the 15 minute, the 30 minutes, look for big zones, try not to really hyper pinpoint entries and exits, give everything a zone, a range, wider stops. And that's how all the good traders I know, that's how they adapted to the HFTs taking over the market.
Yep. And when I see traders trading in like you can go into the seconds of time frames.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what are you doing? Don't do that.
Yeah.
No.
Just hand Ken Griffin your money at that point. Just write him a check and it'll save you a lot of time.
Yeah, there's a reason why I call him the villain. he's not the hero of the market. He's definitely a villain of the market. But villains make money. I'll tell you that right now.
Well, that's and I love capitalism, so I'm all for whatever he's got to do. It's our job just to know that that's the game, and I'm just
it's not to not make money, right?
Right. I'm just not going to play that game.
Yeah. All right, guys. Big look here on the SPY. Looking into a little bit of Palantir here. We got about 10 minutes left, and that's why more and more I say, if you don't rotate out, they'll come and take your money. Palantir now down to 143, right? So those people that were thinking yesterday, well, no, but maybe 150 will hold. Nope. It's no longer a game of support and resistance, I think. It's more about a game of how much are you willing to bleed out your returns, right? How much are you willing to give back up? I talked about how when the 9 EMA cracked, where we're making a move to the 50 EMA. We made that in one day, essentially. And then now, are we going to the 200 EMA, which could be back to 115, 113? Are you willing to take a 70% up, move back to the highs? That's what you're going to be looking for? Or are we talking a 40% haircut? Michael talked about how this thing loves to take 50% haircuts. Just got to determine what you're in. This is why I always think that going after these trades, like when you're starting to chase, like when you're trying to buy like this 157, you really got to stick to short-term moving averages, because that's one way to get wrecked, right? Once you start chasing these high flyers, like even like SoFi yesterday, as soon as it broke the 9 EMA, that was a sign to me that I needed to get out, right? I was buying it yesterday. I got washed on this, but that's just how it is too. You got to know also, if you're riding the momentum, that the momentum could break at any point. So you have to stay with it. Trailing stops are going to keep you safe. Maybe it's a stop off of a moving average. There's certain places and platforms that will allow you to do that. I think those types of things can really help you in moments like this. The SPY is still playing and flirting with that 15-minute chart. You see how the candles are getting smaller? They're not getting bigger. That's something to look at. I think we just continue to watch that. It's okay to get wicks. What you want to see is, does the body close off the low? So you see how the lows all have wicks right now? I'm looking to see if we close downward, because that's going to be the wash for me. Back through 634, I think we could see at least some recovery, maybe some mean reversion come back into play here.
What are those boxes like in different cultures where it's like big box, smaller box, smaller box, smaller box?
Oh, the Russian like
nesting dolls.
Nesting doll. Yeah.
or almost getting that. Well, the SPY, it looks like we could be breaking that trend here, but it
Yeah.
almost looks like
Look
that.
at
Right?
RCAT. RCAT now 530 up. Let's
Yeah.
go. Let's go, RCAT. Let's
Nice.
get it. Let's get it down there. Let's keep breaking. So what am I doing? So I'll show you guys exactly. This is where you don't get this kind of stuff, right? Most people don't show you this crap because they want to make more money and not worry about if you're going to make money or not, right?
Right.
So this has been that fade right into the VWAP. I talked about the 3 looks, right? 3 resistance around the VWAP. And then it finally started to really break down, right? And then now we're just looking for the 9 EMA, ride the momentum. This time we could be on the 1 minute and looking for the green line. As long as things keep closing below the green line, we're looking good. So I can just keep riding that. I have the stop right here at 830. It could easily come back right now. It's right there on the support. I want to see if it goes now to 815 or 810s. Then I can just cash. I have a profit take also down here just in case I get a quick flush to 8. And I don't mind running if I get to 8, right? Big position on in this thing and just trying to ride it out, maximize the gain, right? A lot of that's going to be using a short-term moving average, an EMA to see if it can hold.
Which one do you like using the most?
9. The 9 because it's on the MACD. And so essentially I trade with the MACD traders and that's why I use it.
It's cool. I'm glad you say that because I use it as well. It's called I'm big into Marvel. We've got the purple Jeep. His name is Thanos. So I call it the Thanos crossover. So
There you
when
go.
you get that bullish move back above the MAC and the 9, looking for the the move up, or of course below for the bearish move and the short down. But I call it the Thanos crossover. Yeah. So yeah.
And then of course with the MAC, you want to see this line cut right back down, right, and just continuing to work on that end. That's why I like to look at also, is the 15 still crossed? 1 minute sometimes will scare you, but the 15 here tells me that the trend is actually expanding to the downside. It's not slowing down. The histogram tells me that, right? Histogram is one way of showing you that trend. Now, if the candle on the next one starts to go lower, like to 0.6, then I can see that, okay, yeah, it's slowing down there, right? This is how you can use the bigger time frame. The bigger time frame tells me to hold here. The smaller time frame tells me, watch out, we could start to reverse right here. Right? That's why you got to use multiple time frames, I think, to be kind of staying in tune, right? What's the overall trend? Still down, but we are getting a short-term bounce.
Yeah. Yep. Now, it'd be one thing I was just kind of comparing this yesterday. If it was like we're sailing back in the 1500s, you got latitude, longitude, and you're just sailing to a point. I would much rather have all the navigation I had the day.
HTZ alert.
It's like use all the advantages to you, right? Don't just have one time frame. Use multiple and use it to your advantage.
HTZ looking interesting here. Starts to recover 557s. I've already taken a swing on it. I might take a day trade on it and just try to ride it here. See if I can get this to start going. If the SPY bounces or something, maybe you start to get a ride up here. I like this to break 560s and start to climb back. It's just an interesting name, right? It has nice 15-minute chart. Has undercut here multiple times. So definitely you've cut out a lot of traders right in this spot. This is when usually the big bet gets put on the 550s, and we'll look to see if we ride up there to $6. Not a bad one, HTZ. All right, guys, last remaining setups or maybe a recap that you guys want to touch. I'm going to come to you first, Josh. You can cover, and then we'll go to Michael Noss to wrap up the day.
Yeah, first off, as of course you're looking for small caps, you got one runner for the day for the most part, and it's August. I talked about this last week. We're going to move into it and keep talking about it through every August. Usually, generally speaking, for small cap plays, and kind of across the board, it's been known, but definitely for small caps, it's just usually slower. PRs aren't that great, and if they do come out, they don't mean as much. So you're not going to get as much popping or as much extended movement. So if you're complaining or missing or it's a choppier action, it's August. It just is what it is. So your one runner for the day is THAR. Play that uptrend channel. Again, watch for some consolidation out to the right. The three of us have been over it all morning long, and the red day we've had essentially for the larger breed stocks and across the board. And do we see more continuation on down? I think we do by the week's end, and we see more red, and we'll continue to go down a little bit more so.
All right, guys, taking shots today, and that's what at least I'm doing. Let's go to Michael Noss here as he wraps up and brings you guys a little ratio. Yes.
Yeah. Well, us CMTs love ratio charts, but I think this is everything. So this is RSP, so your average large cap stock versus the Mag 7. And you can see it's been a straight line up. So this is not, I just want to remind everyone, this is not a market crash or a market sell-off. Most stocks are doing just fine. 70% of all stocks were up yesterday, and I think it's around 50-60% are still up today. And yeah, well, 32 right now of every stock in the market is still doing absolutely just fine. So keep an eye on this ratio chart, and it just shows that we are getting this unwind. We were talking about it for ages, that it is large cap tech having a bad day, everything else doing just fine. So make sure if you're picking your shots, you're picking it in the right place, because if it is a forced liquidation, we're not getting a bounce in large cap tech for a while, but we could get a bounce in other names, right? So you see Mitch looking at things like HTZ, obviously not large cap tech, like different names like this that are holding on fine. So this is a very good time to look for relative strength. Just bring up any sort of scanner and just say, show me things that are up today. And you're going to find a lot of names, and then you're going to find a lot of names that just aren't participating at all in the sell-off, and pay attention to those.
All right, taking one more swing before I get out of here. I did swing there Celsius. I'm going to risk off of the high, $45 into 62.40s. Just going to take a swing trade on this one, guys. We'll see what happens on that. Opened it up here. I started seeing GDRX try to make the next move down, so I'm watching for that to break. Of course, shout out to my man Kevin with the hangover short. Guess what, Kevin? I'm still short. Still short, baby. Let's get that good RX there. Gonna have to bring you over to have a good hangover, my friend. So we'll get that set up pretty soon. Definitely watch out, Josh in Orlando. You guys know it. We're rocking out there, guys. We're coming to the US also. So I want to put it out there that if anybody wants to maybe meet up with us in Orlando, Florida, out there, you guys smash the like for that. Start planning in October, mid-October. I'll give you the exact date as we maybe kind of plan a little bit of a meetup night. But look for that, guys, mid-October. I want to go see some of you guys that are out there. So if you guys are listening in and want to make a little bit of a trip or are over there in that area, it'd be great to meet you guys. I know Josh is going to be there. I will be there. Michael will be there. Michael Katz will be there. Guys, you don't want to miss it. It's going to be a fun time. And we'll try to do a little bit of a trader meetup if you guys want to go out there and meet us up. So I just want to put it on the schedule out there so you guys have more than enough time to maybe plan it and get out there. It's good to be with you guys all. Definitely smash the like. I see the chat buzzing out there. It's good to see you guys. Appreciate your love, D-Factor, and all you guys out there. We're going to continue battling. You know where you